Chapter 796. As he sensed the powerful supreme Tao presence of the sixth loop, Qin Wushuang felt ripples in his heart. Hearing this tone, the fortuitous encounter of the sixth loop seemed to be able to help him dash to the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage. Of course, the truth had yet to be tested. That voice said, the formation of the seventh loop is still inside the Tianxian land, yet it does not belong to any forbidden spiritual zone. When you reach a certain level, you will know that the formation of the seventh loop is the true core. The first 6 loops are only steps. These steps will allow you to be qualified to dash for the 7th loop and enter smoothly. Work hard. When you reach the 6th loop, the dawn will appear. In fact, there was no need to motivate him. Even if it was not for this formation, Qin Wushuang had too much motivation and reason to work hard. All the pressure, all the blows, were like mountains pressing down on his head. He had no reason to slack off and shrink back. His divine power communicated with the formation. That voice laughed leisurely. I believe that you cannot wait any longer. You want to know what treasures are in this 6th loop, right? Suddenly, there was a trace of humor in that voice. As if he was whetting his appetite, he laughed and said, I can tell you that not only are there many treasures in this 6th loop, when compared to the Tianxian land, each of them are top-notch existences. Qin Wushuang's breathing also became rapid. Indeed, he was waiting for this moment to arrive. The first great gift is a weapon. It is a divine weapon left behind by a heavenly supreme Tao warrior that went through the 9th calamity with the genuine supreme Tao stage. There are 3 in total. The first is the Heavenly Emperor Sword, the second is the Earth Emperor Spear, and the third is the Yin-Yang Nature Blade. These 3 are genuine supreme Tao weapons of the 9th calamity. Any one of them can cause a frenzy at the Tianxian land. Even existences at the peak of the genuine supreme Tao stage would go crazy for them. It's because to an elite warrior charging for the heavenly supreme Tao stage, such divine weapons that went through the 9th calamity are extremely important. Regardless of their experience or their own energy, they're the best accompanying weapons for the 9th calamity of the genuine supreme Tao stage. For these 3 weapons, with your current power, I am afraid it will be difficult for you to activate them to the peak. However, if you possess the power of the Transformation Supreme Tao stage, you can definitely use these 3 weapons to kill all Transformation Supreme Tao warriors below the 6th calamity. Even a 9th Tribulation Transformation Supreme Tao expert would not be able to gain any advantage when faced with this weapon. If you could refine one of them with your spirit, you would be able to kill all Transformation Supreme Tao experts. Of course, it might be a little difficult for you. At this point, the voice paused for a moment. Obviously, when the owner of this formation set up the 6th ring, he probably did not expect that Qin Wushuang was already at the 3rd tribulation of the Transformation Supreme Tao realm. Generally speaking, the 5th ring had warned that one had to attain the divine Tao before they could enter the 6th ring. The owner of the array naturally thought that the person who had reached the 6th ring was someone who had just entered the spirit condensation Tao stage. However, he did not expect that Qin Wushuang would meet with an accident at the space crack and be delayed for 10 years. He directly entered the 3rd tribulation of the Transformation Supreme Tao realm. This was an accident that the master of the array formation had not expected. The 3 great divine weapons naturally need to be supplemented by weapons of a lower grade. At your level, you can start your own sect. Establishing a sect required resources. I will also bestow upon you a divine weapon storehouse. There were 81 divine artifacts inside, half of the Transformation Supreme Tao and genuine Supreme Tao level. In addition, there are 9 sets of Supreme Tao armor. Of course, these gifts were not prepared for you. After entering the 6th ring, it will test your cultivation and effort. Therefore, in this ring, you will not be given any armor-type defensive treasures. In other words, you can only use ordinary Supreme Tao armor. Even when facing a genuine Supreme Tao expert, it will be the same. This is a test for you. Without experiencing a battle of life and death, how can you reach the great Tao? Supreme Tao armor storehouse? 9 sets of supreme Dao armor? Qin Wushuang was simply stupefied. Wasn't the number of gifts in the 6th ring a little frightening? Who on earth was the owner of this array formation? How could he take out so many supreme Dao weapons? Obviously, this was just the beginning of the gifts. Weapons and armors are only the first gifts. The second gift is 2 secret manuals. Quality is more important than quantity. One is the Great 5 Elements Reincarnation Seal, and the other is the 9 Palaces Return to One Sword Formation. The Great 5 Elements Reincarnation Seal is a battle secret manual. It can be used as a handprint attack or a weapon attack. When practiced to the peak, even a peak genuine supreme Dao expert would have to retreat when facing this divine skill. As for the 9 Palaces Return to One Sword Formation, it is a formation that is practiced by many people. With your current cultivation, it is enough to establish a sect and recruit experts. This sword formation is just right to make up for your deficiency in this aspect. Once this sword formation is activated, with 9 people working together, the power can be increased by at least 81 times. If the 9 supreme Dao experts who perform the formation are all at the first calamity of the Coagulate Supreme Dao realm, then once this formation is performed, it is equivalent to a joint attack of 81 supreme Dao experts. As the saying goes, many ants can bite an elephant to death. 81 first calamity of the Coagulate Supreme Dao realm experts are enough to kill a third calamity of the Transformation Supreme Dao realm. If 9 peak Coagulate Supreme Dao realm experts perform the formation, even if they encounter a genuine supreme Dao realm expert, they will be badly battered. Qin Wushuang's heart thumped, and his breathing became rapid. This formation was simply in defiance of a natural order. 9 Palaces Return to One could unleash the power of 81 people. It would not be an exaggeration to call such a formation in defiance of the natural order. Qin Wushuang was overjoyed at the unexpected good news. Inwardly, he already had some ideas. Humph, perhaps you feel that this 9 Palaces Return to One Sword formation is incredibly powerful. However, let me tell you, it is not without reason that I placed the Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal at the front. In the end, a sword formation is a formation of many people. It emphasizes cooperation. Besides, to the Tianxian land, a plane where the supreme Dao stage is withered, it is not an easy task to find 9 supreme Dao martial artists with similar strength. Once the Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal is practiced to its peak, the 5 great reincarnation seals will grow and multiply endlessly. Even those at the peak of the genuine supreme Dao stage will die with grievances. Therefore, practicing the Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal is the foundation. For this sword formation, of course it's best if you have fortuitous opportunities. If you don't spend all your energy and time on it. When Qin Wushuang heard this warning, he also felt apprehensive inwardly. Then he felt relieved. He did not need to spend any time. Besides, this formation was simply tailor-made for him. For your information, during the 10 years of hardship, he had just crafted 9 golem puppets. They were all advanced puppets controlled by his divine soul. These puppets were controlled by his own divine soul. Indeed, he could control them as he wished. Controlling them remotely, 9 people. In fact, basically, he was still one person. In terms of cooperation and coordination, there would not be any problems. Qin Wushuang felt a burst of ecstasy inwardly. This time, he had gained a great harvest. After a moment of silence, that voice continued. The third gift is of no use to you, but it can solve many of your problems. It can even be said that it can solve all of your worries. This gift is no small matter. Even for me, it took me 100 years to refine it. It is a mustard cave dwelling. This mustard cave dwelling is only the size of a palm. Once you use your divine soul to refine it, you can expand it by 1,000,000 times, 10 million times, and become a big cave dwelling. If you use your divine soul to refine it, this cave dwelling is enough for you to establish your own sect. The defensive power of this cave dwelling is roughly on the same level as the forbidden land of your totem clan. Unless you are an elite of the heavenly supreme Dao stage, you can destroy it. True Supreme Tao stage cultivators can at most damage its skin and hair. It is difficult to damage its muscles and bones. Qin Wushuang felt like he was in a dream. It was really like hitting a pillow when you were sleepy. With this mustard cave dwelling, it really solved all of his worries. What heavenly emperor gate? What foreign cultivators? All of them were fleeting clouds. Even if they attacked the aspiring throne mountain together with the protection of this cave dwelling, what was there to be afraid of? His family, clan, and sect members could all cultivate and recuperate in this cave dwelling. This was indeed an unexpected harvest. At the same time, Qin Wushuang was even more amazed. The magic of creation. These treasures were simply beyond his imagination. Now, he truly wanted to know how powerful the owner of this 7 deadly arrays formation was, and what level of elite warrior he was at. Such a method of mastering nature had simply challenged the limits of Qin Wushuang's imagination. Qin Wushuang must admit that his vision was too narrow at the Tianxian land. Many unimaginable things had allowed him to achieve breakthroughs again and again. However, it seemed that he still had the vision of a frog at the bottom of the well. Of course, Qin Wushuang was not dispirited. He knew that the divine skills of the owner of this formation had far surpassed the rules of the Tianxian land. For these things, most likely many totem elite warriors could not understand. Haha, lucky one. Do you think that with this cave dwelling, you can solve the problem once and for all? Then you're wrong. With this cave dwelling, with your current strength, let's not talk about how much you can refine it to. Even if you train it to the peak and become the immortal being of the Tianxian land, you will only be fleeting clouds when encountering a truly powerful opponent. At most, this cave dwelling will allow you to avoid future troubles within the boundaries of the Tianxian land. However, the true crisis of the Tianxian land is not internal strife, but external aggression. Perhaps you don't know how uncertain the fate of the Tianxian land is. When you reach the 7th loop, when you reach that stage, you will know that the power of a totem elite warrior is not enough to save the Tianxian land from the fire and water. The true savior of the Tianxian land is someone else. This time, Qin Wushuang was completely shocked. Haha, of course, these are off topic. You don't need to understand them now. Don't be amazed at how miraculous this cave dwelling is. For a true elite warrior, not to mention a little cave dwelling, even a continent like the Tianxian land could be condensed into a mustard seed and carried around. In the blink of an eye, it would turn into ashes. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang was shocked. Turn into ashes in the blink of an eye? This powerful? This Tianxian land was more than 100 times bigger than the Earth of his former world. Even the strongest nuclear weapon in his former world could not turn the Earth into ashes. Not to mention the Tianxian land that was more than 100 times bigger than the Earth. Everything had deeply touched Qin Wushuang's nerves and challenged the limits of his knowledge. He needed time to digest all of this. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 797. Qin Wushuang took a deep breath and calmed his surging emotions. It seemed that the place this 7 deadly arrays formation was going to guide him to would certainly face the boundless galaxy. Soaring to the galaxy. Only by soaring to the galaxy could one ride above the rules of the Tianxian land. Through these words, Qin Wushuang also realized that regardless of how glorious the Tianxian land appeared to be, it seemed that they were only a chess piece of the creator behind the scenes. Before the fortune of the heavenly Tao, they were struggling at death's door. The fortune of the heavenly Tao was like a food chain. In the eyes of the forbidden spiritual zones, the people of the human countries were ants. In the eyes of the heavenly emperor gate, the ordinary sects of the Xian Yuan mound were also ants. In the eyes of the totem elite warriors, the heavenly emperor gate was only a slightly bigger ant. Currently, in the eyes of the higher-level powerhouses, the entire Tianxian land was only another ant. In the snap of a finger, the entire land could be turned into ashes. What kind of terrifying power would that be? Qin Wushuang worked hard to calm his emotions. Then, that voice sounded in a neither fast nor slow manner. Lucky one, these treasures are enough for you to move around the Tianxian land. However, do not overlook the power of the totem powerhouses. Each totem powerhouse has a hidden side. Remember, try not to become the target of all the totem powerhouses, or else the situation will be somewhat strenuous. The last piece is the map of the Heavenly Fire southern border. It's not without reason that the Heavenly Fire southern border was set as the sixth loop. It's because the Heavenly Fire southern border has two great totems. The Divine Farmer clan that uses 100 grasses as their totem, and the Fire God Zhu Rong clan that uses fire as their totem. Therefore, this Heavenly Fire southern border is extremely suitable for experience. It's much better than the endless Eastern Sea. Alright, lucky one, keep working hard. Hope to enter the genuine Supreme Tao stage as soon as possible and explore the seventh loop. That is the core of the entire formation. Remember, you must remember, that voice disappeared in a flash, and the divine light also slowly withdrew. Qin Wushuang realized that sweat was already emerging from his forehead. The power of this sixth loop was much more powerful than the previous few loops. After the formation was activated, the restrictions on the treasures were also activated. Cracks began to appear on the walls of the mountain. There were three true supreme Tao weapons: the Heavenly King's Sword, the Earth Emperor's Spear, and the Yin-Yang Nature Saber. Other than that, the supreme Tao weapon storehouse was a small storage space. Qin Wushuang opened it, and sure enough, there were 9 supreme Tao battle armors and 81 supreme Tao weapons. Qin Wushuang's eyes lit up at the richness of the storage space. Both secret manuals had powerful and dense divine seals on them. If it wasn't for Qin Wushuang's divine power that could communicate with these seals, if it had fallen into the hands of others, they wouldn't have been able to open them at all, unless they used a great divine ability to remove these seals. However, within the Tianxian land, it was almost impossible to find such powerful divine skill that could remove this seal. The third item was the most exaggerated mustard seed cave abode. It was a palm-sized model of a cave residence. Qin Wushuang fiddled with it for a while before putting it into his pocket. The harvest from this sixth loop made Qin Wushuang feel incredibly satisfied. The magnitude of the harvest was simply beyond his expectations. For the map of the Heavenly Fire southern border, Qin Wushuang flipped it with a smile and thought, "My current strength is already at the third calamity of the Transformation Supreme Tao stage. For this Heavenly Fire southern border, it's no longer important whether I train or not. However, since this sixth loop is set up like this, certainly this Heavenly Fire southern border is extremely suitable for training. Now, I don't have the time or the leisure to train at the Heavenly Fire southern border. I remember when I left the Qin clan, 2 people came to the Heavenly Fire southern border. One is senior brother Qin Taichong, the other is Qin Shaoong. I wonder how these 2 are doing now." As Qin Wushuang pondered inwardly, he thought again, "Since I'm here, I should contact these 2 colleagues. I hope they're also safe." Qin Wushuang shared a good relationship with Qin Taichong, for they hit it off well. As for Qin Shaoong, despite the unpleasantness, Qin Wushuang was not a narrow-minded person. Since honored warrior Ji Huai already admitted defeat, there was no need for him to care too much about Qin Shaoong. Regardless, he was a disciple of the Qin clan. For the past disputes, due to personal feelings, at Qin Wushuang's current height, he could dismiss it with a laugh. How could he fuss over every ounce? Thinking here, Qin Wushuang decided to leave this mountain cave and explore the outside. Since he had already been delayed for 10 years, he was not in a hurry. Most importantly, if he wandered around at the Heavenly Fire southern border and let the other party get some information, he would return to the formation. Through the formation, he could return directly. It would serve as a surprise attack to gain victory. Qin Wushuang also knew that with his current strength, it would be impossible to fight against Xian Tianwen. There were still about 5 years until the Heavenly Emperor election. In these 5 years, if Qin Wushuang practiced the Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal and combined it with a 9 Palace Return 1 Sword formation, the hope of defeating Xian Tianwen in 5 years would increase greatly. By that time, it would be the time for the Qin clan to make a comeback. After being oppressed for such a long time, 1,000 years of oppression, a dozen years of escape, there would be a day of reckoning. At the Heavenly Fire southern border, Qin Wushuang did not wish to cause any more trouble. After leaving the mountain cave, he investigated the terrain through the map. Currently, with Qin Wushuang's appearance, no one could recognize that he was a martial artist from the Xian Yuan Mount. When he was about 10,000 miles away from the mountain cave, Qin Wushuang took out the spiritual perception jade plate. This was also to prevent others from finding the mountain cave of the sixth loop through his location. When he was 10,000 miles away, it would be impossible to discover any abnormalities. Inside the ancestral hall of the Qin clan, each day at this time, Murong Su would kneel quietly for 2 hours to pray for Qin Wushuang. To the ancestors of the Qin clan, Su Air prays as the future wife of the Qin clan. Please bless me and let me come back safely. As Murong Su prayed, she kowtowed 3 times respectfully. Then, she picked up a handful of incense and rubbed it on the incense burner. Then, she picked up the feather duster and started to clean. She would not allow a speck of dust to stand in the ancestral hall. Suddenly, Murong Su's communication jade plate moved and her heart trembled. A surge of electricity surged in her heart. Usually, she also used the communication jade plate to communicate with the floating snow house and Bao Bao. Yet today, the signal from this communication jade plate gave her a different feeling. Almost trembling uncontrollably, Murong Su activated the communication jade plate. Su Air. As soon as he called out these 2 words, a surge of hot tears gushed out of Murong Su's eyes. She only felt bursts of warm currents surging from her heart. Endless happiness surged to her heart as she choked with sobs. She was a girl who could keep her cool. However, this time, she could not suppress her joy. Qin, brother Qin? Murong Su choked with sobs. Is it really you? Su Air, are you all right? Qin Wushuang was also somewhat excited. Big brother Qin, isn't Su Air dreaming? Have I finally waited for you? I am good, really good. Brother Qin, are you all right? Su Air, listen, it's not convenient for me to speak with you. Now, I am in a hidden place. In the future, I will return to the Xian Yuan Mount. Now, tell me the situation of the Xian Yuan Mound and the human countries. As soon as Murong Su heard these words, she immediately calmed down. She knew that her sweetheart must have many inconveniences. Instantly, she understood tacitly and suppressed her excited emotions. She said, now, the Qin clan is in an extremely difficult situation. The Heavenly Emperor Gate's attack is tight. My father speculated that the Qin clan can hold on for at most 3 years. Then, most likely, the Heavenly Emperor party will break through. Besides, the human countries are extremely peaceful. I heard that the Heavenly Emperor Gate was severely warned by the Totem Powerhouse to not make a move against the human countries. Now, regardless of the Stargaze Palace or the Heavenly Royal Mansion, they are all peaceful. Brother Qin, in these 10 years, I have been praying for you at the Ancestral Hall at the Heavenly Royal Mansion. Warm currents surged from Qin Wushuang's heart. Su Air, it's been hard on you. When Murong Su heard these words, she only felt that all the hardships, tiredness, worries, and longing for the past 10 years were worth it. Brother Qin, I also need to tell you that Zhao Muji and Wei Yi were rescued by a mysterious elite warrior from the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Oh, initially, Qin Wushuang was worried about these 2. Upon hearing these words, instantly, he felt much more reassured. Immediately, he asked, who saved them? No one is sure of the exact person. That person did not report his name. However, he said that he stepped out because he shared a relationship with you. It's him. In Qin Wushuang's mind, a figure emerged instantly. That lazy voice, that mischievous expression, and that signature of a swindler. Indeed, the first person he thought of was Li Bai. Ever since that time outside the 10,000 Flower Valley, when Qin Wushuang fought with the 9-chained celestial tiger, the mountain guardian divine beast of the Amei Daoist sect, it was Li Bai who stepped out to save Qin Wushuang from danger. Ever since that time, Qin Wushuang knew that Li Bai was extraordinary. Certainly, he was a top existence in the land. Now, he heard Murong Su speak of him. He knew that most likely, only this Li Bai would be so loyal to him since he shared a relationship with him. Golden Ray Dragon King and King Cicada did have this ability. However, their relationship had not reached that stage. Brother Qin, do you know who that person is? I think I know. That person is frivolous and plays around. I don't know his exact identity. However, I speculate that person's strength is at least on par with a totem elite warrior. Perhaps he is much stronger than Xin Tianwen. Stronger than Xin Tianwen? And if he were to step out? In the end, it's not appropriate to borrow the hands of others. You must grasp your own fate. If that person were to step out, he would not have waited until now. Yes, I heard from Zhao Muji and Wei Yi that elite warrior took them to see the battlefield at the aspiring throne mountain. However, he did not step out. Murong Su also gave a long sigh. Yes, Su'er. How are my father, sister, and Bao Bao? They're all well, but everyone misses you. However, we all have the same opinion that nothing happened to you. Haha, it seems that everyone is full of confidence in me. Su'er, wait for me, I will go back. 3 years. Humph. I will not let the Qin clan wait for another 3 years. There is a trace of confidence in Qin Wushuang's tone. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.qijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 798. Such confidence made Murong Su feel more reassured. The appearance of Qin Wushuang had given her endless courage and confidence. Right now, she was unconditionally convinced that her lover was the best and the most powerful. Qin Wushuang contacted his father again and learned about the current situation of the heavenly royal mansion. The most gratifying thing was that the strength of the entire family had also risen along with the tide. The effect of consuming those rare and precious fruits had completely manifested. Even his sister Qin Xiu had changed from her previous weak and gentle personality. Her strength had increased rapidly. Qin Wushuang put down the communication jade plate and became even more determined. Since I have the opportunity to defy the natural order and change my fate, I must bring more fortuitous opportunities to the people around me. I will let them also enter the supreme Tao stage and enjoy endless life. As long as their divine souls are not destroyed, their lives will not be destroyed. The stability of the human countries had allowed Qin Wushuang to have one less worry. The communication jade plate was connected to the Qin clan. Now, the Qin clan was also having a gathering. With a grave expression, Qin Chongyang said solemnly, "Everyone today, I have good news and bad news for everyone. The good news is that honored warrior Ji Song has also entered the supreme Tao stage after Ji Huai and Ji Bo. Now, among the 3 supreme Tao fruits, 2 of them have been completely refined and have entered the supreme Tao stage. Also, honored warrior Ji Tong is only 1 step away. The bad news is that after Qin Hao, Qin Jining is also confirmed dead. Their life and spiritual perception flames have already been extinguished. For the other 3, although they have dimmed, they have not been extinguished. This proves that most likely they are still alive. Jining is also dead? Those honored warriors looked at each other in dismay. Inwardly, a surge of endless grief emerged. That Qin Jining was the second elite warrior after Qin Taichong among the young generation of the Qin clan. Until Qin Wushuang had appeared out of nowhere, Qin Jining had only ranked 3rd. Inside the Qin clan, Qin Jining's style of not setting up factions randomly and not playing little tricks was approved by the majority of seniors. Now, this young man with strong character had confirmed his death from the mouth of the 3rd chief. How could these elite warriors of the Qin clan not feel dejected? Just as everyone was feeling dejected, the footsteps of a disciple could be heard running in from outside the upright morality hall. His speed was so fast that he did not even announce his arrival. He was about to charge inside. Sect leaders, this disciple has great news to report. It's Qin Xiong, the guardian of the life, conflagration knowledge, see. Let him in. That Qin Wushuang quickly ran in and said with a smile of exultation, "Two sect masters, this disciple has just observed that junior brother Qin Wushuang's flame of life has become vigorous. Looks like he just activated the communication jade token and sensed the flame of life." Oh, Qin Yunran and Qin Chongyang were overjoyed. In these 10 years, all of a sudden, Qin Wushuang's life spiritual perception had dimmed. For 10 years, it was almost undetectable and could not be seen clearly. As if it would be extinguished at any moment, it was on the verge of collapse and only had the size of a bean. Now, he suddenly heard that the fire of life was exuberant. That meant that Qin Wushuang had broken through his predicament. He had broken free from that space crack. "Qin Xiang, are you sure?" Qin Yunran asked with great joy. "I observed it for a while and only dared to report after confirming it." "Great." Qin Yunran was endlessly overjoyed. "I will go take a look." At this moment, suddenly a burst of heat wave surged from Qin Yunran's communication jade token. He immediately activated it and said with great joy, "Wushuang." "Second Chief, it's me." Qin Wushuang asked with an excited tone, "Is everything going well at the aspiring throne mountain?" With a smile of exultation, Qin Yunran shot a glance at everyone and comforted him. "Everything is going well. Everything is going well. Wushuang, are you okay?" Qin Wushuang said, "Everything is going well. I am training now." "Second Chief, I heard from Miss Mu Rong that the Qin clan is in an extremely difficult situation. May I ask, can the Qin clan still hold on? Initially, I should return to the mountain gate to protect them, but currently I do not have the assurance to win." Qin Yunran exchanged a glance with Qin Chongyang and comforted him. "Wushuang, don't be in a rush. If you do not have the assurance, no need to return. The Qin clan can still hold on." In fact, these two great chiefs also carried great hope for Qin Wushuang. They had always hoped that Qin Wushuang could return miraculously, break the Heavenly Emperor party, and save the Qin clan from danger. However, if he did not have the assurance, besides being buried with the Qin clan, it would be useless to return. Therefore, they had a form of mutual understanding. In the end, if the Qin clan could not defeat the Heavenly Emperor party, it would be better for these disciples to not return and preserve the bloodline. As long as these young disciples had a trace of bloodline, the Qin clan would have hope. It would be meaningless if they returned to be buried with the Heavenly Emperor. "Wushuang, if the Qin clan cannot hold on, you must not let your emotions affect your decisions and throw your life away. Remember, endure humiliation for the greater good. Only when the bloodline of the Qin clan is preserved, there will be hope for revival. If something happens to you and Tai Chong, the Qin clan will not have the chance to rise again." Qin Yunran warned him earnestly. Inside Qin Wushuang's heart, there was a surge of turbulence. Inwardly, he knew that the Qin clan was in a difficult situation, yet the second chief was only comforting him. "Chief, heaven never bars one's way. I know what I'm doing. I promise I will not let the Qin clan be cut off." Since Qin Wushuang was afraid of getting intercepted by elite warriors, he did not say anything about returning in 3 years. He did not want to beat the grass and scare the snake. When the Heavenly Emperor party attacked the aspiring throne mountain, it was not impossible for them to be intercepted by the divine warriors when they communicated with the Qin headquarters. Therefore, now he did not want to expose any trump cards. When dealing with Xin Tianwen, he must make him numb. He must make Xin Tianwen feel that Qin Wushuang did not have any trump cards to turn the tide. Only in this way, he could unleash the effect of a surprise attack. He would deal with Xin Tianwen and the Heavenly Emperor party. He must catch them off guard. When they were ready for battle, it would be impossible for him to break through the powerful Heavenly Emperor party with his power alone. Most importantly, if the Totem Elite Warriors were to take sides, it would most likely attract the attention of the Totem Elite Warriors if he exposed any trace of his trump cards. Now, Qin Wushuang was being cautious. He knew clearly that for the fortuitous opportunities of the sixth loop, even Totem Elite Warriors would easily become jealous. Therefore, before he possessed absolute power, he would not expose it if he could. If he could, he would not expose it too much. All right, Wu Shuang, since you were able to escape from the space crack, you must be a person with great fortune. Even if the Qin clan cannot win this time, with you here, the Qin clan will have hope. Haha, if Xen Tianwen knows you are alive and well, surely he will not have any appetite. Ha ha ha. Qin Yunran was an incredibly optimistic guy. Although the Qin clan was in a precarious situation, when he thought of how the Heavenly Emperor Gate restrained their fear of Qin Wushuang, he felt incredibly refreshed. So what if he was alive? So what if he was dead? Qin Yunran had already seen through everything. He already had the resolve to die for the Qin clan. By the way, second chief, is there any news from senior brother Taichung? Taichung seems to be in a decent situation at the Heavenly Fire southern border. Qin Shaohong is in an extremely bad situation. Wu Shuang, are you at the endless eastern sea now? Qin Wu Shuang said lightly, second chief, I'm already at the Heavenly Fire southern border. I already know the approximate location of senior brother Taichung. You're going to regroup with Taichung? Qin Yunran was astonished. I'm planning to do so. All right, second chief, I am going. You guys take care. Qin clan, take care. Qin Wushuang felt as if a knife had cut his heart, yet he closed the spiritual perception jade plate. He took out the observant finger jade plate, and after looking at it for a moment, he already knew the approximate location of Qin Taichung. No longer hiding his body, he urged the purple cloud Yin Yang wings to its limit and galloped towards the direction of Qin Taichung. Qin Wushuang already knew that the paramount elite warriors of the totem powerhouses were currently pursuing that golden crow at the endless eastern sea. Therefore, at the Heavenly Fire southern border, even if other totem elite warriors appeared, he was confident that even if he could not beat them, it would not be a problem for him to escape. The location of senior brother Taichung seems to be very close to that great bright city. At the Heavenly Fire southern border, the Great Bright City is equivalent to the Heavenly Emperor Gate. I remember that at the Illusion Heavenly Lake, there was a Zhu Yunyin who once said that I could find him at the Great Bright City. This place was only a few 100,000 miles away from the Great Bright City. With Qin Wushuang's current speed, he arrived outside the Great Bright City in 1 day and 1 night. When he arrived at the Great Bright City, Qin Wushuang already confirmed the exact location of Qin Taichung. After he entered the Great Bright City, Qin Wushuang followed the position of the observant finger jade plate and kept approaching the location of senior brother Taichung. HM? Suddenly, Qin Wushuang stopped his footsteps. Outside a restaurant, bursts of supreme Dao defenses surrounded that restaurant like an iron bucket. Indeed, the location of senior brother Taichung was inside that restaurant. Senior brother Taichung is in trouble. No wonder I was wondering why he did not move from his position. So he's trapped here by someone? Qin Wushuang sensed for a moment that the supreme Dao barrier was not very powerful. It was the strength of the coagulate supreme Dao stage. To the current Qin Wushuang, supreme Dao defenses at this level could almost be ignored. Who is it that is restraining senior brother Taichung? Qin Wushuang asked himself. In this great bright city, not many people could restrain senior brother Taichung. There were only 5 or 6 supreme Dao elite warriors in the great bright city. With firm steps, Qin Wushuang walked towards the direction of that restaurant. Just as he was about 1,000 feet away, suddenly, a burst of fiery light rushed towards him. Stop! That burst of fiery light condensed into an illusory figure and stopped in front of Qin Wushuang, glaring at him covetously. Humph! What is the meaning of blocking my path? Qin Wushuang waved his sleeve casually, and a burst of fierce wind swept the illusory figure until it was on the verge of collapse and almost extinguished. On the other hand, Qin Wushuang's steps had become even bigger. He shouted loudly, "Senior brother Taichung, how have you been?" Qin Taichung was originally sitting at the top of the restaurant and drinking by himself. When he suddenly heard this voice, he was stunned and then overjoyed. Junior brother Wu? Ha! Senior brother, who did you offend? Who is imprisoning you here? With that, Qin Wushuang was not polite at all. His figure was like lightning, and like a leaf being blown by the wind, he swayed everywhere. In a short while, the 9 supreme Tao defenses around him were completely removed. Qin Taichung looked at Qin Wushuang's every move in surprise. Junior brother, your cultivation? Qin Wushuang said leisurely. Senior brother Taichung, I have not seen you for 10 years. I did not expect you to break through to the supreme Tao stage. Haha, not bad. Very good. Qin Taichung sighed. It seems that junior brother's speed is faster than mine. Qin Wushuang's indifferent body froze, and his gaze shot towards the south like lightning. Who is it come out? If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chitian.com. More chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 799. While Qin Wushuang was shouting, his body did not slow down. He flapped his wings, and a burst of purple light slashed across the night sky. Like a resplendent shooting star, he left behind a fleeting splendor. With a sweep of his body, he already plundered to the high platform where Qin Taichung was located. Senior brother, you are in a good mood. When he saw Qin Taichung was still drinking by himself despite being in a dangerous situation, he could not refrain from revealing a smile. Not to mention anything else, just this boldness alone was something the other disciples of the Qin clan could not match. With a profound gaze, Qin Taichung fixed his gaze on Qin Wushuang for a moment. Suddenly, he roared with laughter. Good kid, you have made great progress. I cannot see through your depth. In these dozen years, the outside world has been spreading the news that you met with misfortune at the endless Eastern Sea. It seems it's a false rumor. Senior brother, why are you here? Qin Wushuang asked curiously. This matter is a long story. I have been in this great bright city for more than 3 years. 3 years? Qin Wushuang's brows trembled. Yes, I intended to visit the Farmer God clan, yet I could not find the way. I could only come to the great bright city. This great bright city holds the same position as the Heavenly Emperor Gate at the Heavenly Fire southern border. Initially, I thought that perhaps I could meet the totem elite warrior when I see the city lord of the great bright city. Unexpectedly, what happened? Qin Wushuang was moved inwardly. Junior brother, Xiaohong, got into a dispute with a female disciple of the city lord of the great bright city. He was arrested by the law enforcers of the great bright city and was imprisoned in the great bright prison. He suffered the torment of the earth fire every day. As we were from the same sect, I tried to save him and almost succeeded. Yet, I encountered an elite warrior of the great bright city. Elite warrior? Qin Wushuang looked down and muttered lightly. Could it be this person before me? Qin Taichung said sternly. Wushuang, you must be careful. This person is the number 1 emissary beneath the city, lord of the great bright city. His strength is at the 4th calamity of the transformation supreme Tao stage. He only set up a restriction in the vicinity of this restaurant and imprisoned me for 3 years. He also said that the day I break through this restriction will be the day I regain my freedom. Qin Wushuang said leisurely. Then at this moment, the restriction has been removed. Eldest senior brother, you're free. Qin Taichung said cautiously. Wushuang, you must not underestimate the enemy. Qin Wushuang was calm and unperturbed. His large sleeves fluttered in the wind as he stood high above, as if a deity had descended to earth. A gentle breeze blew by, and countless phantoms came from all directions. These phantoms continued to condense and overlap until they finally condensed into a 100 feet tall Dharma idol. It was completely red and stood before the tall building. Its entire body was even taller than the restaurant. This was an illusion with a powerful aura, but it contained an extremely powerful fire attribute. Qin Wushuang sucked in a breath of cold air. To be able to unleash the power of the fire attribute divine path to such an extent and condense such a powerful Dharma idol. His cultivation was indeed at the 4th tribulation of the transformation supreme Tao realm. However, Qin Wushuang was able to easily break through his restrictions. Naturally, he would not be frightened by this Dharma idol. He crossed his arms in front of his chest with a relaxed expression. Suddenly, he fixed his gaze and saw that a figure was hidden inside that flaming Dharma idol. Clearly, this figure was the true body of the enemy. Indeed, to hide the true body inside the Dharma idol, such divine skill was unique. Disciple of the Qin clan, Qin Wushuang. From the opposite side, a cold voice swept over like a bone-chilling wind from hell. Qin Wushuang said lightly, "Who are you?" Wushuang. This person is the #1 emissary under the command of the great bright city lord, Tung Yincheng. Qin Wushuang whispered into Qin Wushuang's ear. Clearly, this guy with the word Chong in his name gave Qin Taichung a great shock. Tung Yincheng, haha, great name. Qin Wushuang let out a straightforward laugh. A straightforward person does not speak insinuations. Emissary Tung, I, Qin Wushuang, will not hide the head and show the tail. As he spoke, he raised a graceful spiritual bow from his hand and said with a loud voice, initially at the endless eastern sea, for this bow, all elite warriors of the forbidden spiritual zones came out in full force. When this graceful spiritual bow was urged by Qin Wushuang's divine power, it drew in the presence of the heavens and earth. Instantly, it emitted the feeling of swallowing the heavens and the earth. The graceful spiritual bow was not an ordinary object. After it was urged by Qin Wushuang's aura, it became even more incredible. It emitted a devilish and rich supreme Tao presence, as if it could suppress all the surrounding light. Even Tung Yincheng could not refrain from drawing a breath of cold air. He narrowed his eyes into a line and said coldly, "No wonder it's the #1 divine bow in the world." Qin Wushuang, it seems you are acting without restraint? Qin Wushuang said with a leisurely smile, "No. Emissary Tung, are you interested in hearing a few words from me?" Tung Yincheng gave a cold snort and said lightly, "If you want to rely on your golden tongue to persuade me to let go of your colleagues, I advise you to keep your mouth shut." Ha ha! Ha ha ha! Suddenly, Qin Wushuang let out a long laugh towards the sky. This laughter pierced through the clouds as his heroic spirit soared to the sky. That Tung Yincheng felt somewhat uncomfortable when he heard Qin Wushuang's laughter. He asked strangely, "What are you laughing at?" Qin Wushuang said seriously, "Although my Xian Yuan Mound and the Heavenly Fire Southern Border are on different sides, in the world of martial artists, some realizations are connected. When martial artists meet for the first time, to persuade the other party, using words is not as persuasive as using fists. My words are not to persuade you to give up, but to make some interesting suggestions." Oh, for the time, Tung Yincheng could not see through Qin Wushuang's depth as he asked with a low voice, "What suggestions?" "To put it simply, you and I will compete. If you win, the graceful spiritual bow in my hands and the shooting sun arrows that go with it will be gifted to you." As soon as he made this suggestion, even Qin Taichung felt that the stakes were too high. He could not refrain from pulling Qin Wushuang's sleeve and reminded him, "Wushuang, you must not underestimate the strength of this person." Qin Wushuang waved his hand. "Senior brother, I have my own ideas." For this suggestion, not only was Qin Taichung surprised, even Tung Yincheng could not refrain from breathing rapidly. One must say that Qin Wushuang's suggestion was too enticing. Upon seeing Tung Yincheng remaining silent, Qin Wushuang continued to speak. Initially, so many Supreme Tao elite warriors rushed to the endless eastern sea to seize this object. If Emissary Tung says that you are not tempted, I will certainly laugh at your hypocrisy. For the opportunity placed before you, as long as you can win, this object is yours. To strengthen his persuasion, Qin Wushuang waved the graceful spiritual bow in his hand again. That treasured bow emitted resplendent yellow lights in the night sky and appeared even more dazzling. Indeed, it would be hypocrisy to not be tempted. Tung Yincheng was not someone who liked to hide his true thoughts. Finally, there was a trace of fervent intention in his eyes. How could he not understand that since this Qin Wushuang proposed to use the graceful spiritual bow as the stake, the equivalent stake he requested would certainly be astonishing. For this stake, it was still unknown whether Tung Yincheng could afford it or not. For the time being, Tung Yinchong was not in a rush to speak, as he was worried about personal gains and losses. After a moment of silence, Tung Yinchong withdrew his gaze from Qin Wushuang's face and said with a somewhat complicated tone, "Graceful spiritual bow. Even if you can afford this stake, I cannot find an equivalent stake. Let's be straightforward. You and I will engage in a life and death battle. The winner will be the king, and the loser will be the bandit. How about it?" Qin Wushuang said with a cold sneer, "I am engaging in a life and death battle with you at your great bright city territory. If you win, of course it's good. If I kill you, how can I walk out of this great bright city?" Tung Yinchong gave a slight sneer. "Then in your opinion, what should we do? What stake do you want? Tell me first." "It's simple. Release the Qin disciples locked in your great bright prison, within the heavenly fire's southern border. The great bright city must not be entangled. This is the stake I request." "Just this?" Tung Yinchong was rather stupefied. Initially, he was prepared for the other party to ask for an exorbitant price. As soon as Qin Wushuang had called out this price, he was stunned. "Just this? How could you find it too little?" Qin Wushuang asked leisurely. On the contrary, Tung Yinchong was hesitant. He felt that if the other party were to raise the stake, he would feel more assured. Since the other party's request was so low, he could not refrain from thinking whether there was something fishy going on. "Qin Wushuang, do you need to make fun of me?" Tung Yinchong raised his eyebrow and asked with a glare. "Envoy Tung, if you must feel that this stake is not equal, then take out whatever good things you have and add them. I believe that you must have some misgivings regarding an unequal stake." Tung Yinchong said, "All right, I do have a treasure." After he had finished speaking, Tung Yinchong flung his sleeve, and a burst of white light mixed with gold light was thrown out from his sleeve. In the sky, a burst of light swelled with the wind. A golden tree was emitting a dazzling golden brilliance as it grew larger and larger. This object is the seven-treasure golden tree. It is the most immemorial gold and contains the immemorial mother of gold. To supreme Tao martial artists of the metal attribute, the power of this golden tree will be immeasurable. My great bright city has 80 to 90% fire attribute martial artists. I myself do not have the supreme Tao talent of the metal attribute. Therefore, this object will be used as the stake. What do you think?" Qin Wushuang laughed. "Previously, I asked for the bet, but it cannot be less. That's simple. It's just a prisoner. I only need to say a word." Qin Wushuang asked with a cold gaze, "Is great envoy Tung's words true?" Tung Yinchong said angrily, "A word spoken cannot be taken back. However, you must tell me how to bet and how to calculate the winning and losing. These must be confirmed. This is simple. We will give each other a difficult problem. Envoy Tung, give me a difficult problem, and I will give you a difficult problem. Whoever solves the other party's problem first will be the winner. How about it?" When Tung Yinchong heard this, it was exactly what he wanted. He was also worried that Qin Wushuang would propose to fight the enemy head-on. When facing an enemy that possessed the graceful spiritual bow and had created countless legends, Tung Yinchong would more or less restrain his fear. This fear was because he was an elite warrior that had seen a lot of things. Therefore, he had some extra confidence in his intuition. Although he was confident, among the elite warriors that went to the endless eastern sea to chase after Qin Wushuang, there was no lack of those transformation supreme Tao warriors at the 6th or 7th calamity. Indeed, Tung Yinchong would not dare to let down his guard against Qin Wushuang, who had reappeared in 10 years. After all, the reputation of the graceful spiritual Bao back in the day was truly too illustrious, too illustrious. Today, after returning from my wife's home, I lost my train of thought for 2 days and could not connect. Therefore, I am writing slower. There will be a second update later. It will be faster. At the same time, I would like to recommend a Xianxia novel, The Prince of the Great Chu. It is said to be a refreshing novel. Book number 1973712. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chijian.com. More chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 800. Qin Wushuang did not set up such a trap because he wanted to be pretentious, nor did he want to be in the limelight. Naturally, he did not have any strange thoughts. Everything he did was done after careful consideration. He had considered every aspect of the plan. In today's situation, Qin Wushuang could defeat Tung Yinchong in the opponent's territory. He could even kill him with a graceful spiritual bow. However, the vast heavenly fire southern border was hundreds of thousands of miles away from the cave in the sixth ring. Putting aside whether he could leave the great bright city calmly, once he killed someone, Qin Shaohong would definitely die. It would be impossible to save him. As for whether the eldest martial brother Qin Taichong could escape safely was another matter. Therefore, fighting with brute force was the worst move. He was naturally not afraid of using force on someone else's territory. However, he had to consider for his fellow disciples. Using this method to stabilize Tung Yinchong, he used a friendly spar and competition method to make the opponent lose the advantage of having more people and also the home ground advantage. It seemed to be a fair duel between individuals. However, in reality, Qin Wushuang had his own plans. He could guarantee that he would not lose. Whoever solves the opponent's problem first will be considered the winner. What if they are solved at the same time? Tung Yinchong was not stupid. On the contrary, he was very cautious. Qin Wushuang smiled leisurely. If they are solved at the same time, we will each come up with a problem. There has to be a winner. Tung Yinchong sneered in his heart. This Qin clan boy thinks that he has succeeded. He wants to use this trick to make me unable to bully him. If I want to deal with you, Qin Wushuang, do I need to use more people? Do I need to use the advantage of being a local bully? Thinking of this, Tung Yinchong's mood was probably similar to Qin Wushuang's. They both felt that if they were to use this method to gamble, they would almost certainly win. A confident smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said in a long voice, "All right, Qin Wushuang, no matter what, the host should follow his guest's wishes. I will accept your bet." When Qin Wushuang heard Tung Yinchong's words, he was instantly overjoyed. As soon as the other party agreed, it meant that everything had fallen into Qin Wushuang's grasp. With the graceful spiritual bow and the shooting sun arrows in his hands, he said, "My wager is here. Ambassador Tung, can you show your readers everything first?" Tung Yinchong tossed the golden tree high into the sky, creating all kinds of strange, auspicious qi and strange, multicolored light. "My wager is right here. If you win, you can take it away at any time." Tung Yinchong smiled calmly. "No, your bet is not complete," Qin Wushuang said firmly. "Incomplete." Tung Yinchong suddenly thought of something and smiled. "All right, if you want someone, it's very simple. I'll just send a voice transmission." After saying those words, Zhang Xian formed a series of hand seals, and a spiritual consciousness transmission talisman shot into the void and disappeared. It was just bringing a prisoner out of the Great Light prison. The Great Light City had done this kind of thing countless times, so naturally, they did not take it to heart. Not long later, a trusted subordinate brought the battered and exhausted Qin Shaohong over. The pain Qin Shaohong experienced each day in the Great Light Purgatory was unimaginable to outsiders. Tung Yinchong poked a few times with his finger, and like fireflies, the seals on Qin Shaohong's body kept emerging on the surface of his body. For the power of this seal, if he did not have the divine skill to remove it directly, most likely Qin Shaohong would carry these seals with him for the rest of his life. He could also trigger the seal to explode at any time and die in a foreign land. When the seal was removed, Qin Shaohong immediately became much more clear-headed, as if he had been injected with chicken blood. As he looked around, for a time, he did not know what had happened. Clearly, Tung Yinchong was not interested in Qin Shaohong. After shooting a glance, he did not even bother to look at him when he discovered that this person was beneath the supreme Tao stage. "Kid, consider yourself lucky. At least, you can avoid physical pain for the time being. You have colleagues coming to save you. However, I'm sorry to tell you that they will enter the Great Light Prison with you." "Colleagues?" Qin Shaohong was astonished. "Colleagues are coming to save me?" It was not strange for Qin Shaohong to be this astonished. He knew clearly how much of a bastard he had been at the Qin clan in the past. It was impossible for true elite warriors to come to save him. This time, only 5 or 6 colleagues had left the Qin clan, and they were all in different places. Thinking here, the only reliable one would be senior brother Qin Taichung. Qin Shaohong could not refrain from asking with his hoarse voice, "Senior brother, is that you? Thank you for coming to save me." Qin Taichung never had a good impression of Qin Shaohong. However, when considering the benefits of integrating the sect, Qin Taichung must endure when he should. Regardless, this Qin Shaohong was his colleague and a disciple of the Qin clan. Of course, he would not bear to see him fall, especially when the Qin clan was in imminent danger. One more disciple of the Qin clan would mean one more bloodline. Currently, the bloodline of the Qin clan was incredibly precious. With a slight snort, Qin Taichung said with displeasure, "Shaohong, the sect sent you out, yet you got entangled with a female disciple of the great bright city. You are asking for trouble." Qin Shaohong felt ashamed to show his face. "Senior brother, thank you for coming to save me this time. It's all my fault." "Humph, the person that saved you is not me." Qin Taichung gave a cold snort. "If you were to charge in, I was already on the move 3 years ago. I was trapped in this formation for 3 years and could not get out." "Senior brother, then who else?" Qin Shaohong's heart thumped. "Of course it's junior brother Wuxuan. Besides him, who else could have saved you?" Of course, Qin Taichung remembered the grudges between Qin Shaohong and Qin Wuxuan. It would be nice if he could solve the knot in the heart of the Qin clan at this moment. Indeed, Qin Shaohong was dumbstruck. A surge of shame emerged from his heart like never before. Qin Wuxuan repaid evil with good and came to the great bright city alone to save him. Regardless of how he thought about it, Qin Shaohong felt that he was too much of a bastard in the past. With his talent, he wanted to fight with others over jealousy. Thinking about it now, he was simply too naive. Indeed, Qin Shaohong felt incredibly ashamed. On the other hand, Tung Yinchong gave a sneer. "Qin Wuxuan, you have checked all the stakes, right? Now are you satisfied?" Qin Wuxuan laughed. "I am extremely satisfied. The graceful spiritual bow is here. If Emissary Tung can solve the problem one step ahead of me, this bow will be yours. If I go back on my words, may I die a horrible death and be struck by lightning." This world still attached great importance to oaths, especially for supreme Dao martial artists. To be struck by lightning was the specific content of the divine calamity. It was a taboo for each other. When Tung Yinchong saw the seriousness of Qin Wuxuan, he did not play any tricks. "I will also do the same. If you can win, this 7-jewel golden tree is yours. You can also take away the other 2. My great bright city will not get entangled." "Great, straightforward." Qin Wuxuan clapped his hands and laughed. "We will each have 15 minutes to think about how to give the other party the biggest problem. How about it? Are there any restrictions to this problem?" Tung Yinchong was extremely careful. He did not want to fall into the other party's trap. Therefore, he wanted to know the details first. "As long as it is within my ability and does not require the help of outsiders, it is fine," Qin Wuxuan said. "To put it bluntly, it is a competition between the 2 of us. A competition between the 2 of us, without the help of outsiders, right?" In Tung Yunchong's tone, there was a trace of undetectable craftiness hidden. However, the repetition of his words made Qin Wuxuan realize that this Tung Yinchong must be implying something behind his words. However, Qin Wuxuan did not care at all. This was because he had a trump card that would definitely win against the other party. As expected, before 15 minutes were up, Tung Yinchong slapped his forehead and revealed a trace of confidence. Obviously, he was already prepared. Qin Wuxuan laughed leisurely. "Emissary Tung, could it be that you already have a card up your sleeve?" "That's right. A competition between the 2 of us without the help of outsiders. I will set up a formation here. If you can walk out of this formation and beat me to it, you win." "Break the formation?" Qin Wuxuan's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. Obviously, he did not expect Tung Yinchong to actually know how to set up a formation. After all, when he entered just now, Tung Yinchong had seen the method of breaking the restriction formation. It seemed that the restriction formation that Tung Yincheng used to imprison his eldest senior brother was not his trump card. Seeing Qin Wushuang's stunned expression, Tung Yincheng was even more delighted. Qin Wushuang, my question did not violate the rules, right? I did not use the help of outsiders. It was not bad that he did not use the help of outsiders, but he used the geographical advantage. When he set up the formation, he must have combined it with the surrounding formation spiritual veins. To put it bluntly, he still had the geographical advantage. However, how could Qin Wushuang be so calculative? Instead, he asked indifferently, Emissary Tung, both of us will give each other a difficult problem. The one who solves it first will indeed win. What will happen if the one who can't handle it and leaves first? Of course, he will lose. Whoever gives up first will lose. Tung Yincheng's tone was very resolute. Then he asked, Then, have you thought of your question? Qin Wushuang smiled strangely. I have already thought of it. What? Tung Yincheng did not dare to neglect. After all, he was not facing any other opponent this time, but Qin Wushuang, whose name had spread throughout the world 10 years ago. My graceful spiritual bow has been refined with my divine sense. It is controlled by Emissary Tung. I do not ask you to remove my divine sense. As long as Emissary Tung can suppress my divine sense for a short period of time, tame this bow, and shoot a world-shocking arrow that can penetrate my ordinary Supreme Tao shield, you will have completed the question. How about it? You only need to shoot a single arrow that can penetrate this shield. Tung Yincheng blinked his eyes and thought to himself, could it be that this graceful spiritual bow has some kind of restriction? Without opening the restriction, I cannot use it? Nonsense. All the divine weapons in the world have been refined. However, with my divine sense state, it is definitely not a problem to suppress it temporarily and borrow its endless supreme Tao power. Short-term suppression and long-term control are two completely different concepts. Even if I have to risk injuring my divine sense, I must give it a try. In the end, Tung Yincheng was still full of confidence. Firstly, he was very confident in his great vanishing dust formation. Secondly, he was also very confident in his divine sense state. With the power of the graceful spiritual bow, even if he only unleashed the power of an ordinary Supreme Tao weapon, it would be a piece of cake for him to penetrate a Supreme Tao shield of the spirit concentration stage with his cultivation. The layers of confidence brought to him by these aspects made Tung Yincheng feel that he was absolutely foolproof. No matter what tricks Qin Wushuang played, he always believed that the same thing could cope with all changes. Strength was the foundation. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 801. Tung Yincheng's idea was very reasonable. Normally speaking, it would be watertight. However, he still underestimated Qin Wushuang's ability. Even though he already valued Qin Wushuang highly and viewed him as his greatest enemy. Thinking of this, Tung Yincheng immediately became full of heroism and laughed. I'll bet with you. Qin Wushuang's eyebrows twitched and his lips moved slightly as he shouted, A gentleman keeps his word. A whip on a fast horse. Tung Yincheng was not careless. Good. Regardless of winning or losing this battle, I am extremely impressed by your bearing, Qin Wushuang praised. Likewise, Tung Yincheng laughed. All right, let's start now. Wait a moment. I'll set up the formation. Tung Yincheng opened his sleeves, and two brightly colored flags appeared in his hands. With a wave of the flags, the formation on all sides was immediately activated. Following the movement of the flags, strange changes appeared on the topography of the entire ground. This great vanishing dust formation was a great secret technique of the Great Bright City. It was very impressive. Life and death could vanish in an instant. Especially at the place where the formation I was located, it absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The gate of life and gate of death were all in this formation. Qin Wushuang, who was in the formation, slowly closed his eyes. He knew that this formation was unpredictable. Observing the formation with the naked eye would certainly be fruitless. A formation of this level must be sensed with one's heart and grasped with one's divine sense. For a moment, Qin Wushuang fully opened his divine sense and observed every detail of this formation. Suddenly, a mass of dense fog came down from above the formation. The entire formation was immediately surrounded by this fog and fell into a sea of fog. Tung Yunqiang's indifferent voice sounded from a void. Qin Wushuang, the formation is completed. Where's your graceful spiritual bow? Qin Wushuang said leisurely. The graceful spiritual bow is here. Holding the graceful spiritual bow in his hands, he raised both of his hands. The entire bow stretched out like a curved blade and slashed downwards, creating a passage in the surrounding fog. Qin Wushuang's figure shot out. He had already sent the graceful spiritual bow and the shooting sun arrows in front of Tung Yunqiang. Tung Yunqiang caught it in passing and immediately felt a powerful divine power surge over. Tung Yunqiang almost couldn't breathe smoothly. He took 2 steps back and dissolved the power of the divine path. When the graceful spiritual bow and the shooting sun arrows fell into his hands, they were the real deal. Qin Wushuang threw the divine Dao shield in his hand and used his divine Dao power to hold it. He fused a strand of his divine sense into it, causing the divine Dao shield to hang high in the air. Ambassador Tung, this is your goal. If you can break the shield between me and you, then you win. The graceful spiritual bow will belong to you. Tung Yunqiang snorted, let's begin. Grabbing the graceful spiritual bow in his hand, he activated his consciousness and power gushed out. He lightly shouted, open for me. As expected, the graceful spiritual bow was opened by him, and the shooting sun arrows were placed on the bowstring. Tung Yunqiang revealed a slight smile on the corner of his mouth. Is it that simple? Even if there is something strange about this graceful spiritual bow, as long as this arrow unleashes the power of an ordinary divine Dao weapon, it will be enough. Tung Yunqiang could still feel that even if this graceful spiritual bow was controlled by the opponent's divine sense, it would only be stronger than an ordinary divine Dao weapon in his hands. When he thought of this, Tung Yunqiang activated his divine sense again and again. He stared at the divine Dao shield with a determined gaze. It was as if the target formed by the shield was incomparably huge, and he did not need to aim to hit the target. Just when Tung Yunqiang was determined to win, suddenly, Tung Yunqiang felt his chest sink. Immediately after, an inexplicable throbbing sensation swept past his heart. This movement was not important, but Tung Yunqiang's entire body quivered as if he had suddenly fallen into an ice cellar. All the hair on his body stood on end. No, how could it be like this? In Tung Yunqiang's surroundings, a chilly wind suddenly arose. Waves of aura filled with the aura of death continuously surged in the surroundings. Immediately after, shadows that were covered in filthy blood continuously emerged from the ground. Each of them had a malevolent expression and were badly mutilated as they walked towards him step by step. Demons and ghosts, everything is illusory. Tung Yunqiang's state of mind was actually stabilized. Just as he was about to yell out an incantation, suddenly, a wave of mournful cries entered his ears. Yunqiang, my son, your father has died an unjust death. Yunqiang, my son, save me. Eldest senior brother, don't kill me. I beg you, don't kill me. One after another, heart-wrenching cries continuously sounded beside his ears. They were directly swept into his divine sense and hammered his nerves. At this moment, all of his close family members were all covered in filthy blood. They continuously rushed towards Tung Yunqiang with open arms. Tung Yunqiang had a clear thought in his mind. He knew that this was an illusion. However, such a realistic illusion still caused him to be endlessly vexed. One terrifying scene after another, as if they could read Tung Yunqiang's mind, played out continuously. As for Tung Yunqiang's divine sense, it was constantly being attacked by this illusion and was also undergoing subtle changes. his elderly parents, his dearest junior sister, and the hordes of descendants below them. All of these faces were Tung Yunxiong's loved ones and the weakness in his heart. This weakness caused great terror to his body. This great terror transformed into all kinds of scenes that impacted his nerves. All of a sudden, the expressions of all the familiar faces froze. Following that, all of their facial features appeared. A face became blood-stained and slowly turned into a skeleton. The skeleton kept approaching. Just as it was about to reach Tung Yunxiong, it suddenly turned into powder and collapsed. Similar terrifying scenes occurred one after another, as if there was no end to them. This kind of great terror could only be withstood by cultivators with the most resolute temperament. Tung Yunxiong was obviously someone with a resolute temperament. However, at this very moment, his divine soul was still trembling and his heart was palpitating. The most frightening thing was that not only were these illusions able to attack his divine soul, the graceful spiritual bow also seemed to be a blood-devouring weapon. In a short period of time after he obtained it, it continuously devoured his essence blood and his divine soul. This was what Tung Yunxiong felt was the most frightening. Tung Yunxiong guarded his mind, but he was still unable to break through the psychological impact of those scenes. Tung Yunxiong shot a glance at the great vanishing dust formation. Qin Wushuang was inside the formation and did not act rashly. Instead, he was like an old tree that did not move at all, as if he was meditating. The more it was like this, the more Tung Yunxiong felt that this Qin Wushuang was indeed unfathomable. How would he know that Qin Wushuang did not want to take the risk to break the formation when he was observing the formation? Instead, he sat there and waited. As long as he could see through the profoundness of this formation's attack and did not rashly barge into the formation, it would not be a problem for him to defend himself. With Qin Wushuang's plan, he had already placed himself in an undefeatable position. In reality, what he needed to do was to stall for time. And this period of time that he had gained was the crucial period for the duel between Tung Yunxiong and the graceful spiritual bow. Qin Wushuang had always been communicating and practicing with the graceful spiritual bow. His control of the graceful spiritual bow had almost reached an unprecedented level. The longer he interacted with the graceful spiritual bow, the more he knew how great the potential contained within the graceful spiritual bow was. Therefore, he was not worried that Tung Yunxiong could withstand it. If one's divine soul was not strong enough, the murderous aura emitted by the graceful spiritual bow would most likely be devoured by the supreme Tao aura of the graceful spiritual bow on the spot. This Tung Yunxiong could be considered as someone who was extremely powerful in the supreme Tao realm and had an especially powerful divine soul. Otherwise, just the first few rounds of confrontation would be enough to make him lose his mind and surrender voluntarily. Even so, it still made Tung Yunxiong feel an enormous pressure. That graceful spiritual bow in his hand was like a death-summoning token from hell. Countless pairs of sinful black hands were waving their palms at him, as if summoning him to gather. Tung Yunxiong only felt that if this continued, his blood essence would most likely be completely devoured by the graceful spiritual bow. At this moment, Tung Yunxiong suddenly realized why Qin Wushuang, who had been in the martial arts world for less than 20 years, would make such a bet with him so unscrupulously. However, after he understood this point, his situation had obviously reached a situation where it was difficult to get off the tiger, and he had no choice but to do so. Or, he could continue to activate his consciousness and forcefully activate the shooting sun arrows to attack the Supreme Tao shield. However, to control the shooting sun arrows under such circumstances and shoot through the Supreme Tao shield at this critical juncture, it must be said that it was extremely difficult. And the price he had to pay for this might be his blood essence being completely sucked dry. His divine soul might even be injured or even devoured. The other choice, without a doubt, was to admit defeat. This smokeless battle had just begun and the winner had already been decided. Tung Yunxiong let out a long whistle, and his divine soul forcefully pretended to be incomparably calm. Qin Wushuang, What kind of trick does this graceful spiritual bow actually have? Qin Wushuang knew that Tung Yinchong had already reached the edge of his limit and was about to collapse. He was holding on with his last breath. At this moment, it was difficult for Tung Yinchong to even protect himself, let alone activate the offensive formation to attack Qin Wushuang. Chuckling, Qin Wushuang said leisurely, "I don't know what kind of trick it is, but I'm sure that if Great Emissary Tung insists on persisting, his divine soul will be severely injured. If it's light, his divine soul will be severely injured. If it's heavy, all the power of the graceful spiritual bow will be activated, and his divine soul will be annihilated." It sounded like he was speaking the truth, but it was unquestionably the most advantageous threat. Tung Yinchong's last breath was pierced by Qin Wushuang's sharp blade in his chest. Instantly, his qi dissipated with a loud bang. He could no longer hold on to the graceful spiritual bow as it transformed into a burst of golden light and flew back to Qin Wushuang's hand with the bow, an arrow. Qin Wushuang laughed. "Emissary Tung, thank you for letting me win." Tung Yinchong gave a light sigh and did not speak a word with an ashen face. He looked at Qin Wushuang, who was inside the formation in a daze, and had a rueful feeling of, since he was born, why would Liang be born? However, in the end, Tung Yinchong was a man of his words and would not go back on his words. He grabbed the formation flag and started to withdraw the great vanishing dust formation. Clumps of dense fog also gradually disappeared. Qin Wushuang's fame has spread across the world. Today's battle did not have any smoke, but it was an eye-opener for me. Good, for such figure, my great bright city can afford to lose. This golden tree is yours now. You can take away all the disciples of the Qin clan. At this moment, Qin Shaohong, who had always been at odds with Qin Wushuang, was cheering for Qin Wushuang inwardly. This was because his many years in prison had caused a subtle change in his mentality. When he heard Tung Yinchong admit that Qin Wushuang had won, instantly a surge of warmth spread through his heart. Freedom, he was finally free. My family reunited during the Dragon Boat Festival. I played for a day and relaxed. I only started to write at 9 o'clock at night. I could not find the right state and only managed to write one chapter until now. I owe everyone a chapter. I will certainly make it up to everyone tomorrow. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 802. As Qin Shaohong walked on the road outside the great bright city, he still felt as if he was in a dream. Half a day ago, he thought that he would not be able to escape this great calamity. Years of suffering in prison had already smoothed out all of Qin Shaohong's edges and corners. It made him completely realize how narrow-minded he was initially. "Senior brother, how did you gain from this trip?" For the time, Qin Shaohong could not bring himself to thank Qin Wushuang. Qin Taichong knew Qin Shaohong's mood as he chuckled. "Shaohong, don't be in a rush to ask me. This time, if Wushuang had not arrived, not only you, but I would also have fallen into prison. Wushuang, as your senior brother, I owe you a favor," Qin Taichong said seriously. Qin Shaohong blushed and also said with a mumbling voice, "Junior brother Wushuang, in the past I did not know when to advance or retreat. I was too arrogant and did not have much magnanimity. Junior brother Wushuang's various acts of righteousness made me feel ashamed." When Qin Wushuang saw the proud and arrogant Qin Shaohong giving such a humble signal, he also felt surprised. He did not expect Qin Shaohong to be grateful or blame himself. He waved his hand indifferently. Yet, deep inside the corner of his brow, there was a trace of graveness. "Two senior brothers. This time we are all running for the fate of the Qin clan. There is no need to draw such a clear line. When a nest is overturned, how could any egg remain intact? Now the Qin clan is in an incredibly difficult situation. What are your plans?" Although Qin Taichong had entered the Supreme Tao stage in 10 years, he could not be blindly optimistic. 10 years of tempering had allowed this crude senior brother to become much calmer. Junior brother Wushuang, what do you think we should do? Qin Wushuang said with a low voice. 5 of us came out. Senior brothers Qin Jining and Qin Hao have already met with misfortune. Now, only the 3 of us are left. It seems that in the end, we cannot count on those totem powerhouses. For the fate of the Qin clan, we must save ourselves. That's right, this time we all met with a rebuff. Junior brother Wushuang, you should not be having a smooth time at the endless Eastern Sea, right? The endless Eastern Sea cannot even protect itself. The situation is even more chaotic than the Xian Yuan Mount. That golden crow wreaking havoc is enough to give him a headache. Qin Wushuang was also helpless. He had met the Golden Ray Dragon King, and the Golden Ray Dragon King had treated him well. Even though Qin Wushuang had fought with the Golden Ray Dragon King in the Fusang Forest, the Golden Ray Dragon King did not take it to heart. Instead, the Golden Ray Dragon King had blocked an attack from the Golden Crow for him. Therefore, Qin Wushuang had no grudges against the ancestral dragon tribe. After all, the general situation of the endless Eastern Sea was certainly more important than the personal righteousness of the Qin clan. 2 senior apprentice brothers, your whereabouts in the Heavenly Fire southern border have been exposed. I believe that the Heavenly Emperor Gate's pursuit will arrive in a few days. Let's just beat around the bush with them. Go around in circles? Qin Taichong and Qin Shaohong were stunned. Senior brothers, where is the safest place right now? Qin Wushuang asked. I'm afraid that there's no safe place under the heavens, right? Qin Shaohong sighed helplessly. Now, the morale of the Heavenly Emperor Gate is at its peak. The Heavenly Emperor Party is unprecedentedly united. To the Qin clan, clearly a safe place is a luxury. Qin Taichong also felt helpless. The Heavenly Emperor Gate had 4 supreme Dao elite warriors. Inside the Heavenly Emperor Party, there were a dozen supreme Dao elite warriors. Even though Qin Wushuang had already killed 2 of them, there were still 14 of them. These 14 supreme Dao elite warriors were a dangerous existence that could annihilate the Qin clan at any moment. Even if they could not annihilate all of them, they must think of ways to disintegrate their alliance. Qin Wushuang was not unduly belittling himself. If it was just the Heavenly Emperor Gate, the Qin clan could definitely turn defeat into victory. Now, the crucial point was those subsidiary powerhouses that acted as accomplices to the villain. Those 3 neutral sects were only grass on the top of the wall. They hated the heavenly punishing villa and the sound of thunder sect the most. Initially, they were at odds with the Qin clan. At this moment, certainly they would stick close to the Heavenly Emperor Xian clan. It would be extremely difficult to break up their alliance. Junior brother Wushuang, what do you want to say? When Qin Taichong saw Qin Wushuang remaining silent, he could not refrain from asking. Qin Wushuang revealed a smile. 2 senior brothers, currently the safest place under the heavens is none other than the human countries. I heard that the Xian clan has already received a severe warning when they made a move against the human countries. Now, the human countries are the safest place to go. 2 senior brothers, I plan to return to the human countries. Return to the human countries. Qin Taichong was slightly surprised. Yes, the human countries are close to the Xian Yuan Mount. It's a good place for us to train. After much consideration, Qin Wushuang felt that only the human countries were currently the safest place. Qin Shaohong gave a long sigh. Could it be we can only hide and live in constant fear? Qin Wushuang said with a smile. No, we are only hiding strategically. I lured them to the Heavenly Fire southern border to attract their attention. I will disperse their power. I will make them unable to throw in all their military power to attack the aspiring throne mountain. Besides, I will tease them from time to time. I will implicate their power. This, Qin Taichong said with a bitter smile. Junior brother Wushuang, when we depart from the Xian Yuan Mound and the human countries, the journey to the Heavenly Fire southern border is similar. How could you attract their attention from time to time? Qin Wushuang laughed. Senior brother, for this, I have a brilliant plan. At this point, Qin Wushuang had nothing to hide from his fellow disciples. The 7 deadly arrays formation had reached the 6th loop, and was only one step away from the seventh loop. Even if his fellow disciples knew about it, no disaster would occur. Therefore, Qin Wushuang did not plan to conceal the secret of the seven deadly arrays formation. Okay, two senior brothers, please follow me. Qin Wushuang was extremely cautious. After he was certain that the people of the Great Bright City were not following them, he took Qin Taichung and Qin Shaoong to fly towards the mountain cave of the sixth loop. It was a few 100,000 miles from the Great Bright City to the mountain cave. To Qin Wushuang, it was only a matter of day and night. Since Qin Shaoong had yet to enter the Supreme Tao stage and suffered severe injuries, of course, he would be a burden in terms of speed. However, Qin Wushuang had the purple cloud in Yang wings. Carrying Qin Shaoong on his back, of course he did not feel any pressure. After a day and a night, they arrived around the entrance of the mountain cave. Qin Wushuang was not in a rush to take them into the mountain cave. Instead, he paced back and forth a few times to make sure no one was following them. Then, he led the two of them and said with a smile, "Senior brothers, please follow me." When they entered the winding earth-lung mountain cave of the sixth loop, Qin Taichung clicked his tongue in wonder. "Wushuang, what is this place?" This mountain cave has a peculiar shape. The internal structure reflects great divine skills and great work. It seems to be the cave dwelling of a senior elite warrior. This is a cave dwelling. Senior brothers, please sit on this stone platform. I will activate the formation inside with my supreme Tao power. It will transport us to another place. Transportation formation? Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong had also experienced that transportation channel inside the Qin clan. Thus, they were not unfamiliar with it. Yes, this transportation formation is different than the one in the Qin clan. The transportation of the Qin clan is only a short distance transportation of a few hundred miles. This transportation is an existence that crosses the forbidden spiritual zones. The previous stop is the endless Eastern Sea. Are you ready? When he saw that the two senior brothers were ready, Qin Wushuang activated the formation. Enveloped by the 5 color divine lights, it formed a giant ball of light to press down. With a pull, it wrapped the figures of these 3 people and they disappeared without a trace. The time consumed by the transportation formation was at most 1 hour. Then it stopped. Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong looked at the surrounding environment with astonishment. This mountain cave had a similar appearance to the previous mountain cave. However, in terms of temperament, it was clearly different. "Wushuang, what is this place?" Qin Taichung asked with astonishment. "This is a mountain cave at the endless Eastern Sea. Senior brothers, are you ready?" Qin Wushuang led them to the stone platform of the 5th loop. The next stop is the Xianyuan Mound. Xianyuan Mound? That's right, it's the Xianyuan Mound. However, there's still a long way to go before we reach the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. Qin Wushuang said seriously. However, the current Heavenly Emperor Mountain has an inescapable net. I don't know how many eyes are watching us in the dark. If we return to the Xianyuan Mound now, certainly we will be walking into a trap. Therefore, we will not linger at the Xianyuan Mound. Let's return to the human countries. The formation to return to the 4th loop from the 5th loop was activated. In a moment, it sent the 3 of them back to the formation at the 4th loop. These loops of formation were linked with each other. The miraculous nature made Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong feel somewhat dumbstruck. Finally, Qin Taichung could not hold back as he asked, "Junior brother Wushuang, this way, I am afraid the rumor from the outside world is true." "Rumor?" Qin Wushuang blinked his eyes. It's rumored that when junior brother Wushuang soared in the human countries, he inherited a mysterious immemorial formation. The one who acquired this formation could ride on the peak of the Tianxian land. Could it be it's referring to this formation? Yes. Qin Shaoong was also endlessly astonished. Junior brother Wushuang has hundreds of strange moves and endless fortune. It must be this formation that bestowed him, right? It seems that junior brother Wushuang is truly a rare genius from the heavens, the chosen one to lead the Qin clan out of this predicament. At this moment, how could Qin Shaohong still have the slightest jealousy? He only had joy and excitement. After all, if Qin Wushuang was truly the heir to the immemorial formation, it meant that the Qin clan had not been abandoned by the heavens. It also meant that not only did the Qin clan have the chance to get rid of this misfortune, they could even turn defeat into victory and achieve a new hegemony. Being disciples of the Qin clan, of course, they would follow the rising tide. For such simple reasoning, how could Qin Shaohong not understand it? Two pairs of fervent eyes fixed on Qin Wushuang. Clearly, they were waiting for Qin Wushuang's answer. From their eyes, there was some worry about personal gains and losses. Qin Wushuang revealed a slight smile. Two senior brothers, this formation is absolutely genuine. However, whether it is passed down from the immemorial period and whether it can ride on top of the land, it still needs to be verified. In case this formation is exposed before all major totem powerhouses, the resistance we will encounter will be unimaginable. Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong trembled with apprehension. They shot a glance at each other and said in unison, "Yes, junior brother Wushuang, for this secret, the two of us will keep it a secret. We will never reveal it to anyone, including all disciples of the Qin clan. If half of this secret is leaked out from us, let us die without a burial place. We will be abandoned by both heaven and man." Qin Wushuang waved his hand. "Two senior brothers, if I did not trust you, I would not have brought you here. Now, the fate of the Qin clan is tied together. We are bound together for good or ill. You have no reason to betray me and no motive. After all, once the formation is exposed, no one in the Qin clan will be able to protect themselves." Yes, both Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong nodded. There was no need to point out the stakes. The two of them were well aware of it. First, I will make up for yesterday's debt. For today's 2 chapters, I will update them at night. Since I am going to the renovation company in the afternoon, I will take a look at the interior door. To be continued. If you want to know about the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. More chapters, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 803. Regardless, it's worthy of celebration that junior brother Wushuang has acquired such fortuitous opportunity. Senior brother, certainly the fate of the Qin clan can be turned around. Qin Shaohong was incredibly excited. Yes, junior brother Wushuang, for you to increase your strength at such a fast speed, certainly you are a rare genius. Now, how much assurance do you have to defeat the Heavenly Emperor Gate? Qin Taichung asked directly. Now, it's no more than 20%. Qin Wushuang was rather frank and not hypocritical. Only 20%. Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong exchanged a glance, and a trace of disappointment flashed across their faces. Senior brothers, to be exact, it's no more than 20%. However, if I have 3 years, I have 70 to 80% assurance to launch a counterattack against the Heavenly Emperor Gate. I will beat the Heavenly Emperor Party to a sorry state and destroy their entire sect. A burst of piercing, cold, murderous intentions emerged from Qin Wushuang's entire body. Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong both felt a trace of abnormality. It was because to them, Qin Wushuang's burst of ruthless, murderous intentions was something they had never felt from Qin Wushuang in the past. In the past, Qin Wushuang was introverted, calm, and courteous to his colleagues. He had a modest heart. Occasionally, he would reveal his loftiness, yet most of the time, he was rather calm. Now, such swift and fierce murderous intentions were something they had never experienced before. Even among their colleagues, they felt their hearts throbbing endlessly. It seemed that within this burst of murderous intentions, there was a surge of restless, engulfing feeling that caused them to feel somewhat restless. The transportation formation kept transporting them through one loop after another. In less than half a day, they were transported to the cave beneath the Great Song Mountain in the second loop. After the Heavenly Royal Mansion's renovation, the scale of this cave did not change. However, the structure was built like an underground palace and appeared incredibly spectacular. Initially, the surface area of this cave was enormous. After the renovation, each piece of space was used extremely well, and it gave people an incredibly open feeling. As Qin Wushuang revisited this old place, he felt endless joy inwardly. He said to his two senior brothers, "This is the place where I was born and raised, the Great Song Mountain that stretches for thousands of miles." The mountain range that stretched for thousands of miles was nothing to the aspiring Throne Mountain with its grand atmosphere and imposing aura. However, this Great Song Mountain was the place that nurtured Qin Wushuang. This caused Qin Taichong and Qin Shaohong to feel deep veneration. "Junior brother Wushuang, did you start your martial arts career from here?" Qin Shaohong asked with extreme curiosity. "You could say that." Qin Wushuang faintly smiled. "This Great Song Mountain was the beginning of my martial arts career. It was also the source of my qualitative change. Of course, the real first ring was actually at the border of the Green Jade Mountain. However, the Green Jade Mountain in the first ring had already been leveled. The changes that had occurred could no longer be traced. Moreover, the second ring was indeed the place where Qin Wushuang had received his first baptism. It was also the place where Qin Wushuang had lived since he was young. Naturally, he had more feelings for it. Therefore, his sense of belonging to the second ring was far greater than the first ring. There's always been a rumor that there is a legacy ancient array formation in the primordial era that originated from the human countries. He didn't expect it to be true. "Junior brother Wushuang, you have great fortune. You truly make me envious." Qin Taichong chuckled. "Since the heavens are protecting the Qin clan, for sure the Qin clan will turn the crisis into safety and break through the cocoon to become a butterfly. Wushuang, when I was at the Heavenly Fire southern border, I was in despair. Now, I firmly believe that the fate of the Qin clan will change because of your appearance." "Yes, I also believe it." Qin Shaohong nodded sincerely. "Ha ha. Two senior brothers, the so-called people protected by the heavens, is only a saying in the unseen world. Regarding the fate of the Qin clan, it still requires the joint effort of each disciple. All right, you two, are you going to train in secret in this mountain cave, or follow me to the heavenly royal mansion at the foot of the mountain? If it weren't for special circumstances, they would not like to show their faces at the human countries. However, the heavenly royal mansion was extraordinary. Firstly, it was the birthplace of Qin Wushuang. Secondly, the founder of this branch of the Qin clan was also one of the most exceptional disciples of the Qin clan. A few hundred years ago, he was also the star of hope of the Qin clan. Qin Shaohong's honored warrior Ji Huai and ancestor Qin, you did not get along well. However, following honored warrior Ji Huai's enlightenment, these historical grudges had disappeared. At this moment, if he could represent honored warrior Ji Huai to perform a ritual before the memorial tablet of senior Qinyu, it would be a form of etiquette. All these generations of grudges could be put to an end. Out of respect to Qin Wushuang, of course Qin Taichong would not act arrogantly and put on the airs of a senior brother. He laughed. "Junior brother Wushuang is so outstanding. I also want to see how good the feng shui of this Great Song Mountain is to be able to nurture a dragon among people like you. At the same time, I would like to pay my respects to your father. All right, let's go down the mountain." Qin Wushuang did not even use the communication jade plate to prevent others from seeing through his whereabouts. Just when he was about to walk out of that mountain cave, suddenly Qin Wushuang had an idea. "Two senior brothers, we cannot use the communication jade plate when we are training in secret at the human countries. If you have anything to say, or if you must contact the sect, you can let me pass it. You can also come with me to the sixth loop through the transportation formation and contact your clansmen there. You must not use the communication jade plate at other places, especially at the human countries." Of course, those two knew the depth of the situation as they nodded. Suddenly, Qin Shaohong had an idea. "Junior brother Wushuang, since we are to attract the attention of the Heavenly Emperor party, why must we be at the sixth loop? How about this? We will split into two groups. One group will wander around the endless eastern sea. The other group will occasionally show our faces at the Heavenly Fire southern border. This way, we could divert more attention." Indeed, splitting into two groups could attract more attention. Qin Wushuang muttered to himself irresolutely for a moment and nodded. This is a good idea. Only, the Golden Crow is currently entrenched at the endless Eastern Sea. Even if the Heavenly Emperor Party knows we are at the endless Eastern Sea, they may not dare to send people over. However, let's give it a try. As long as we scatter the supreme Tao elite warriors of the Heavenly Emperor Party, it will be a successful tactic. After they made the agreement, the three of them quietly went through the same path on the other side and arrived at the foot of the mountain after passing through three mechanisms. Currently, the Heavenly Royal Mansion was built to be incredibly wide. Indeed, the horse farm at the back was connected to the exit on this side. The connecting link was the mountain stream. It was perfect and flawless. There was no flaw in it at all. With their skills, of course it was easy for the three of them to enter a place like the Heavenly Royal Mansion. To them, the defense of the Heavenly Royal Mansion existed in name only. Although he had not returned to his hometown for more than 10 years, it did not reduce Qin Wushuang's homesickness. Shuttling through the Heavenly Royal Mansion, in a moment, they arrived at the core area of the mansion. Qin Wushuang took these two directly to the ancestral hall of the Qin clan. Today happened to be the first day of the lunar calendar. It was the day to worship the ancestors every month. Qin Lianshan brought his family to burn incense and worship at the ancestral hall. He said, "Dear ancestors, it's been 40 years since I started taking care of the Qin clan's incense. I never dared to forget the instructions of my ancestors. I took it as my duty to revive the Qin clan and my goal to return to the aspiring throne mountain. Now, my son Wushuang has shown outstanding talent and assumed personal responsibility at the Qin headquarters. He has established illustrious military exploits. The day for the Eastwood Qin clan to recognize our ancestors is not far away. However, that Heavenly Emperor Xian clan had the ambition of a wolf and invaded the Qin clan without caring about their reputation. Many disasters have occurred. My son Wushuang has fought in all directions and worked tirelessly. I hope that the spirits of the ancestors in heaven will protect my son Wushuang and the Qin clan. If the Qin clan can get out of trouble and my son Wushuang is safe and sound, I am willing to exchange 100 years of my life." Qin Lianshan's tone did not sound overly emotional. However, each of his words was abnormally sincere. He had completely revealed the selfless personality of a father. Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong exchanged a glance, and a trace of respect emerged from their hearts. The strength of this Qin Lianshan was not outstanding. However, these words were filled with sincerity, and every word struck their hearts. When Qin Wushuang heard these words, his throat also felt blocked, as he could not refrain from choking with sobs. Qin Wushuang could not help but cry out, "Father, sister, Su'er." When Qin Lianshan heard these words, his tiger-like body trembled as he turned around with surprise. Wushuang. When Qin Wushuang walked out from the sky, he had already covered the entire space of the ancestral hall. All the scenes and sound from inside would not be transmitted outside. One did not know how many times the story of family reunion had played out. However, each time it was still this warm. Especially after a great calamity, such reunion appeared even more precious. "Father, let me introduce you. This is Qin Taichung, the senior brother of the young generation of the Qin clan. This is senior brother Qin Shaohong. He is also an outstanding figure of the young generation." Qin Lianshan and Qin Xiu did not know about the grudge between Qin Shaohong and Qin Wushuang. It was because they had never been to the aspiring throne mountain. Morong Su knew about it. When she saw Qin Shaohong and Qin Wushuang appear together, she could not refrain from feeling somewhat curious. However, she was an abnormally intelligent person. How could she point it out? One look from her, and Qin Wushuang was enough to convey all the information. After being separated for 10 years, this sense of mutual understanding did not weaken at all. "It's an honor to meet you, Uncle Lianshan." Although Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong had a higher status and strength than Qin Lianshan, due to their relationship with Qin Wushuang, they did not dare to act arrogantly before Qin Lianshan, a senior. "Ha ha! You two are young talents of the Qin clan. You have worked together with Wu Shuang for the fate of the Qin clan. You have made me admire you greatly. No need to be overly courteous. Of course, Qin Taichung and Qin Shaohong could not avoid some etiquette as they held incense and paid their respects. Such action had gained Qin Lianshan's favorable impression. Qin Wushuang's safe return had given Qin Lianshan's family endless confidence. If they had not considered the issue of confidentiality, the Heavenly Royal Mansion would have already started celebrating. After staying at the Heavenly Royal Mansion for a few days, the three of them returned to the mountain cave at the Great Song Mountain. Across the entire human countries, only the mountain cave of the Seven Deadly Arrays formation had the degree of spiritual qi suitable for elite warriors of the Supreme Tao to train. At most, they would only have 3 years of time left. In these 3 years, Qin Wushuang knew that they must seize every second. The size of the harvest in these 3 years would be the decisive factor in the war with the Heavenly Emperor Party. The scale of victory and defeat would be decided by the harvest in these 3 years. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 804. Having suffered many losses, Qin Wushuang had learned his lesson. Currently, he had an abundance of supreme Tao armor. His father, sister, brother-in-law, and Murong Su all had one. Qin Wushuang had seized a set of supreme Tao armor at the Illusion Heavenly Lake. When he was at the 5th loop of the Endless Eastern Sea, he had another one. At the 6th loop, he was given 9 pieces at once. This allowed him to have a total of 11 pieces of supreme Tao armor. This was definitely an incomparable luxury. For your information, for many of the Heavenly Emperor 8 gates, ordinary sects would not have more than 10 supreme Tao weapons. They would not even have more than 3 pieces of supreme Tao armor. He alone had 11 pieces. Naturally, he had an abundance of them. He had given 4 pieces to his family, 1 for himself, and 6 left. Of course, Qin Wushuang did not plan to be a child of wealth and give away all the supreme Tao armor at once. For such goods, he must have used up all his resources. Not everyone was qualified to have it. As for the supreme Tao weapons, he had more than enough. The armory of the 6th loop had given him 81 supreme Tao weapons. This did not include the 3 genuine supreme Tao peak divine weapons at the 9th calamity. Therefore, the treasures Qin Wushuang possessed now were definitely no less than a paramount totem elite warrior. Perhaps a paramount totem elite warrior would have countless treasures and wealth. However, in terms of practicality, Qin Wushuang's treasures were also impressive. In 10 years, although Murong Su's strength had increased tremendously, Qin Lianshan and de Shiming's strength had also increased steadily. Especially de Shiming, he had reached the profound void martial stage. He was only 1 step away from the perfect void martial stage. Such strength had already created a new record in the human countries. What had surprised Qin Wushuang the most was that in these 10 years, Murong Su had reached the exquisite mysterious boundary stage. To Murong Su, this was definitely a great miracle. Although she was only at the profound mysterious stage and had not reached the peak of the common mysterious stage. But even so, with her age, it was still quite a miracle. Big Brother Qin, these 10 years, just as Murong Su was about to speak, Qin Wushuang smiled. Su Air, calling me Big Brother Qin always makes us seem distant. You should be like them and call me Wushuang. Wushuang. Murong Su playfully blinked her eyes and said with a smile, Then I'll still call you Brother Wushuang. I'm used to calling you Wushuang. Hee, call me whatever you like. Su, for the next 3 years, I will be cultivating in seclusion in the cave. I may not be able to accompany you for too long. If you don't mind the stuffiness, you can also cultivate in the cave and feel our divine aura. Perhaps it will be of some help to you. In addition, these things are for you. What is it? Murong Su asked curiously. She was looking forward to it. She knew that since Qin Wushuang wanted to give her something, it must be something extraordinary. A storage ring was put on Murong Su's hand. Qin Wushuang said with a smile. Su Er, there are so many gifts in here that you'll be dazzled. Let me introduce them to you. These two pearls, one is the Recuperate Pearl, the other is the Spiritual Power Pearl. The Recuperate Pearl is extremely helpful for you to comprehend the Supreme Tao and nourish your divine soul. In the future, when you enter the peak of the Common Mysterious stage and make a dash for the Supreme Tao stage, this Recuperate Pearl will allow you to achieve twice the result with half the effort. As for the Spiritual Power Pearl, below the Supreme Tao stage, it can ensure that there is an endless supply of spiritual power. It can ensure that you will not be exhausted in any battle. No matter if it is a long battle or a surprise attack, the effect is extremely overbearing. Any one of these two pearls would not lose to a Supreme Tao weapon, not to mention getting both. Murong Su was somewhat hesitant. Big Brother Wushuang, such precious things. Su Er, at this point, we don't have to be polite. What's the difference between giving it to you and me keeping it? Just take it as a betrothal gift, all right? It's good that you don't think it's too little. Murong Su's heart rippled with warm currents as happiness gushed through her entire body. Big Brother Wushuang, even if you don't have any betrothal gift, in this lifetime, I will only follow you in life and death. I will never leave you. Ha ha, zero betrothal gift? This is not the style of the Qin clan. Yes, Su Er, look at these two talismans. When activated with spiritual qi, it will explode with the strongest attack of a Transformation Supreme Tao elite warrior of the Dragon Clan. This Dragon Breath Seal can subdue the enemy at a crucial moment. For the Supreme Tao armor, I already put it on for you earlier. With that Supreme Tao armor, of course you cannot lack a Supreme Tao weapon. I chose these 3 Supreme Tao weapons for you with great care. See if you like them. When he opened them, he saw the 3 Supreme Tao weapons. One of them was the Evade Sky Plate, which was a shield. However, it was at the Transformation Supreme Tao level. Its defensive power could withstand the attack of a 5th or 6th Calamity Transformation Supreme Tao Warrior. The second one was the Phoenix Feather. There were 7 in total. It could combine 7 into 1 or turn 1 into 7. The changes were unpredictable. The 7 Phoenix Feather could transform into a 7-color treasure sword and congeal into a 7-colored sword formation with endless power. After combining into 1, it would be another sword. Its power could increase by 7 times. Indeed, it was a set of weapons with endless opportunities. The third one was a bow and arrow. Naturally, its power could not be compared to the graceful spiritual bow. However, it was more small and exquisite. Rather than calling it a bow and arrow, it would be more appropriate to call a hand crossbow. It would not pose any pressure when hidden in the sleeve, yet it could unleash the effect of a sneak attack from a concealed weapon. This crossbow was small and exquisite. The crossbow arrow was made from the teeth of the immemorial Beast clan. It possessed tremendous power. Qin Wushuang had chosen these 3 weapons for Murong Su with great care. With such equipment, even if Murong Su's power remained stagnant, she would not feel any pressure when facing an elite warrior below the 6th Calamity of the Coagulate Supreme Tao stage. As for the elite warriors below the 3rd Calamity, they might not even be able to defeat Murong Su. Matched with such equipment, if Murong Su could enter the Supreme Tao stage, she would be extremely terrifying. She would even have the confidence to fight against those below the Transformation Supreme Tao stage. As for his father and brother-in-law, Qin Wushuang did not give them so many things. Firstly, their power had not reached the exquisite mysterious boundary stage. When their power reached that stage, Murong Su might have entered the Supreme Tao stage. At that time, the Spiritual Power Origin Bead and Recuperate Bead, these peak treasures below the Supreme Tao stage, could be given away. In short, Qin Wushuang was particular about making the best use of everything. It was not that he was biased. After the cave had been reconstructed, the secret room for cultivation was naturally separated into many rooms. Qin Wushuang and the others did not feel any discomfort while cultivating hard in the cave. Qin Wushuang took out the secret book of the Great 5 Elements Reincarnation Seal and studied it seriously. This study lasted for more than half a month. Qin Wushuang was almost addicted to this remarkable ability. The mystery of the Great Five Elements Reincarnation Seal was that with the power of the Supreme Tao as the foundation and the five elements as the source of spiritual power, it formed an extremely profound hand seal attack. This hand seal attack had a myriad of changes. According to different realms and different techniques, it could transform into innumerable changes. It was powerful and had a myriad of changes. It could control thunder and lightning to kill people, move towering mountains to suppress people, erupt like a volcano, rage like the reverse current of the East Sea, sharp like a mountain of knives covering the top, turbulent like the collapse of the earth. Ultimately, the Great Five Elements Reincarnation Seal was still controlled by the spirit. The realm of the spirit determined the realm of the Great Five Elements Reincarnation Seal. Qin Wushuang's current five elements. The wood element was the strongest, followed by the fire element, and the other three elements were once again. Last time, when he defeated Tung Yinchong, he obtained a 7 treasures golden tree. Qin Wushuang had not had time to refine it. This 7 treasures golden tree was the highest grade of the metal element and had the reputation of primordial true gold. It was not inferior to the scarlet fire and the hibiscus wood. Therefore, Qin Wushuang only had to refine the 7 treasures golden tree, and the metal element supreme Tao Soul Essence would not be a problem. Even evolving it into a supreme Tao Soul Essence would not be a problem. Qin Wushuang spent an entire month's time to refine the 7 treasures golden tree and condense it into a metal element supreme Tao Soul Essence. In this way, Qin Wushuang had another choice when cultivating the Great Five Elements Reincarnation Seal. The Great Five Elements Reincarnation Seal had a total of 5 realms. The first to 4th realms were all hand seal attacks of a single element. And at the 5th realms, it was the fusion of the 5 elements and the reincarnation of heaven and earth. The strength of the attack was said to be able to shatter the galaxy and destroy a plane in the blink of an eye. This realm was simply beyond Qin Wushuang's imagination. He felt that it was simply an existence of fantasy. How could it happen in reality? Of course, the 5th realm was too far away. Qin Wushuang did not even have the mood to ponder about it. Currently, he was still in the groping stage of the 1st realm. The 1st realm, each of the 5 elements had a hand seal attack. Qin Wushuang was most proficient in the wood element, but it was not a technique with strong attack power. On the contrary, it was a hand seal attack with healing properties. It was called Spring Breeze and Rain. This move of Spring Breeze and Rain was completely useful. The 1st realm hand seal of the fire element was 9 dragons, layered flame. When the hand seal was formed, 9 fire dragons would appear. They would spit out primordial fire of heaven and earth, burning everything in the world. The 1st realm hand seal of the metal element was needle hidden in silk. When this seal was executed, the void would turn into thousands of golden needles. They were extremely fine and silent. However, their speed was so fast that they could pierce through the supreme Tao golden body in the blink of an eye. The strength of the penetrating power was undeniably number 1 among the 5 elements. The 1st realm hand seals of the water element and earth element were Ultimate Vortex and Earth Lung Purple Heart Thunder respectively. Because Qin Wushuang had not formed the divine Tao essence of the water element and earth element, he was not in a hurry to cultivate these 2 hand seals for the time being. Qin Wushuang was now mainly cultivating the 1st realm hand seals of the metal element, fire element, and wood element. The hand seals of the water element and earth element were to assist in cultivation. In this way, the advantage of having and not having the divine Tao essence was very clearly differentiated, especially the wood element Spring Breeze and Rain, because the wood element condensed a primordial spirit purer than the primordial spirit. It was simply effortless to cultivate. As for the fire element and metal element, they were still in the primordial spirit stage. Therefore, their progress was slightly slower, but not by much. As for the remaining 2 elements, because the primordial spirit was not formed, their progress was the slowest. It was almost impossible to achieve results. As for the 9 palaces' return to one sword formation, Qin Wushuang practiced it with great interest. The 9 golem puppets were controlled by the divine soul, respectively. They were controlled by Qin Wushuang with a thought. Cultivating the 9 palaces' return to one sword formation could be said to be a unique advantage. 9 palaces return to one divided into 9. The wonders of the 9 palaces' sword formations changes were all contained within. Qin Wushuang's 81 supreme Dao weapons, half of them were swords. Therefore, the swords used by the 9 golem puppets were at least at the transformation supreme Dao level. Once this sword formation was completed, its destructive power would be extremely shocking. This trump card, to a certain extent, could even directly change the situation of the battle. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 805. In the beginning, Qin Wushuang was not in a rush to let them practice the sword formation. Instead, he wanted to train their mutual understanding and familiarize them with the swords bestowed by Qin Wushuang. These are basic skills. They could only enter the next stage of training after forming a mutual understanding with the supreme Dao weapons and merging with them. The merging of the puppets with the swords, the mutual understanding and communication between the puppets, and the merging of the puppets with their master, Qin Wushuang. These lessons were all done step by step. It was impossible to reach the heavens in one step. Qin Wushuang was not in a rush for success. After they had a solid foundation, he began to teach them sword techniques. These sword techniques did not have any fancy moves. They were all extremely practical combat skills. Every sword strike required a certain amount of coordination. It was definitely not a simple individual attack, nor did it have those dazzling moves. Fancy and flashy moves could not be seen in this sword formation. To put it precisely, this sword formation was a killing sword formation. It used killing as the goal and defeating the enemy as the goal. All the sword moves and sword styles served this purpose. Qin Wushuang decided to let them practice alone for 3 months. After 3 months, they would start to practice the sword formation together. 3 months of basic homework was more than enough. The more Qin Wushuang studied the 9 palace return one sword formation, the more he felt it was profound and the more he felt its endless power. Even if it were 9 martial artists at the first calamity of the coagulate supreme Dao stage, if they could cooperate well with this formation and unleash their peak level of mutual understanding, not to mention defeating elite warriors at the genuine supreme Dao stage, it would be a piece of cake for them to face ordinary warriors at the 6th calamity of the transformation supreme Dao stage. As for those below the 6th calamity of the transformation supreme Dao stage, they could even kill them instantly. Every 2 or 3 months, Qin Wushuang would show his face at the Heavenly Fire's southern border through the transportation formation. He would cause some trouble. To put it bluntly, he was trying to make his presence known. Of course, there was only one purpose for his actions. He wanted the Heavenly Emperor Gate to believe that he was at the Heavenly Fire's southern border. His time of appearing and disappearing mysteriously made the Heavenly Emperor campsite feel very uncomfortable. Before the aspiring throne mountain, all supreme Dao elite warriors of the Heavenly Emperor Party had returned to the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. Xian Tian when revealed a gloomy expression. Clearly, the past half a year made him feel even more depressed. The elite warriors he sent out chased after him everywhere at the Heavenly Fire's southern border, yet they could not even touch his shadow. When their people left, the kid swayed again. This happened one after another, over and over again. In the end, he didn't even have the chance to meet them. Xian Tianwen felt that he was fooled. The entire alliance of the Heavenly Emperor Party was led by the nose by Qin Wushuang. Your Majesty, why did you summon us back? I heard that Qin Wushuang has appeared again recently. There were only a few places he had visited. I feel. Xian Tianwu tried to express her opinion. Xian Tianwen waved his hand and said with an incredibly determined tone, Anyways, no need to look. Why? Xian Tianwu was incredibly unreconciled. Fellow Taoist Tianwu, Lei Yu laughed bitterly. Obviously, that kid is intentionally deceiving us, drawing our attention, and scattering our forces. It would make us unable to focus on dealing with the Qin family. Humph, for the aspiring throne mountain, your majesty is in charge. Whether we are here or not, it will not affect the battle situation much. Xian Tianwu also had her reasons. Xian Tianwen said lightly, without a doubt, that Qin Wushuang is using this tactic to scatter our attention. As for his motive, it's not important. Now, the most crucial thing is to break the mountain protection formation of the aspiring throne mountain. Currently, the underground spiritual ley lines of the formation have already been cut open by the Nirvana heavenly plow. At most, in 2 years, the formation of the aspiring throne mountain will be broken. In these 2 years, no matter how much that Qin Wushuang stirs up, we will not pay attention to him. Your Majesty, I am just afraid that kid will appear and disappear unpredictably and launch a surprise attack on the Heavenly Emperor Gate and these allied sections. As soon as Xian Tianwu spoke these words, those 3 neutral sects trembled with fear. Regarding what they were most afraid of, it was not the counterattack of the Qin clan, but an elite warrior at the level of Qin Wushuang. He would turn from the light to the dark and deal with them in secret. This was something that could not be defended effectively. Xian Tianshun said with a bitter smile, Tianwu, you don't need to worry about this. Now, the intelligence network of the entire Xianyuan Mound has been fully activated. It's more reliable than that inescapable net. As long as that Qin Wushuang appears at the Xianyuan Mound, even if he is transformed into a burst of cool breeze, there will be abnormal movements. Don't worry, it's impossible for him to arrive at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain without making a sound. It's not a matter of a day or 2 for him to return to the Xianyuan Mound from the Heavenly Fire southern border. To let that kid get away with it, I still feel unreconciled. Xian Tianwu gave a long sigh. Yet, she knew that she could not disobey His Majesty's order. Tianshun, for the Yun clan, you will issue another order. Tell them that it's not too late for the Yun clan to join now. If we wait until the Qin clan is about to be destroyed, it will be too late for them to join. The tone of the Heavenly Emperor Xian Tianwen did not carry the slightest emotion. It was as cold as the Devil King of the underworld. Xian Tianshun said with joy, Yes, Your Majesty, I will go now. This was something he was happy to do. Usually, the Yun clan was carefree and did not seem to put the Heavenly Emperor Gate in their eyes. Currently, the situation was different from the past. The power of the Yun clan was no longer enough to affect the unity of the Heavenly Emperor Party. For the Heavenly Emperor Party, there were 6 powerful sections. Under the current situation, the Qin clan was already at their last gasp. Even if the Yun clan joined hands with the Qin clan, they had already lost the best opportunity. For the Qin and the Yun clan, the hope to make a comeback was extremely slim. Therefore, Xian Tianwen was full of ambition as he went to war in the Yun clan. He wanted to show off his power. Inside, the Heavenly Emperor 8 gates. Of course, the number 1 thorn in the eyes of the Heavenly Emperor Gate was the Qin clan. As for the Yun clan, they were ranked 2nd. Currently, even if the Yun and Qin clan joined hands, their strength was far inferior to the Heavenly Emperor Party. Therefore, Xian Tianwen was incredibly confident. The feedback from the Yun clan already made Xian Tianwen furious. Xian Tianshun went for half a day and brought back the news. The Yun clan already showed an indifferent reaction as if they did not feel anything from the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Your Majesty, that Yun clan is detestable. Do you know what that Yin Shuechen said? Xian Tianshun said angrily. He spoke with a tone as if he wanted to skin the people of the Yun clan alive. What did he say? Xian Tianwen asked coldly. He said that it would not be too late to make a racket at the Yun clan after the Xian clan and the Qin clan have determined the victor. Humph, that old kid truly thinks we cannot take care of the Qin clan? You did not tell him about the current situation of the Qin clan? I did. Exine Tianchen felt extremely innocent. How could I not tell him? However, that Yun Shiuechen did not even bat an eyelid. From his expression, he still does not think the Qin clan will fall. The Qin clan will not fall? A burst of fierce, murderous intentions flashed across Exine Tianwen's brows. He shouted, "Pass my order, prepare for battle with full force. Even if I risk using my divine soul to refine the Nirvana heavenly plow, I will fight with that Qin Shaodian to break that barrier." Yes, all Supreme Tao elite warriors of the Heavenly Emperor Party responded with a booming voice. The benefits of attacking the aspiring Throne Mountain and destroying the Qin clan were needless to say. Since the Heavenly Emperor Exine Tianwen already promised everyone that they could kill and rob at will after they had killed their way into the Qin clan, this temptation was incredibly great. The change of tactics from the Heavenly Emperor Party also caused Qin Wushuang and the others to feel somewhat surprised. Qin Shaohong said with resentment, "It's only been half a year. They already sensed it? If this is the case, our tactics are completely ineffective." Qin Taichung did not agree. There is not a single layer of tactics that remains unchanged. If this tactic is outdated, we can still change it. Now, the Heavenly Emperor Party is determined to destroy the Qin clan and attack the aspiring Throne Mountain. Wushuang, do you have any other brilliant ideas? Although half a year was not long, the change of the political situation made the Qin clan situation even more difficult. Theoretically, the Qin clan could at most hold on for 3 years. Yet now, after half a year, the situation seemed to have worsened. It was even worse than they had imagined. After a moment of deep thinking, a surge of blood rushed to Qin Wushuang's head as he said, "If that Exine Tianwen disregarded all costs to refine that divine weapon, he will use his divine soul to fight a bloody battle with the head chief. This might not be bad news." Oh, could it be good news? If that divine weapon is refined with the divine soul to increase its power for a short period of time, perhaps our spiritual ley lines will not hold on for too long. We don't need to hold on for too long. Everyone, if that Exine Tianwen does not hesitate to injure his divine soul to force his way in, then why should we hide? Yes, the person Qin Wushuang restrained his fear was only Exine Tianwen. Among the Heavenly Emperor Party, besides Exine Tianwen, no one had surpassed the sixth calamity of the Transformation Supreme Tao stage. To Qin Wushuang, existences at this level would not pose any threat. During this 3 years of solitary training, everything Qin Wushuang did was to use Heavenly Emperor Exine Tianwen as an imaginary enemy. If Exine Tianwen did not hesitate to injure his divine soul, how could Qin Wushuang restrain his fear of that Exine Tianwen? In these 10 years, Exine Tianwen only passed 2 calamities. The second calamity of the genuine Supreme Tao stage was far from the peak of the genuine Supreme Tao stage. If it was a head-on confrontation, certainly Qin Wushuang would not have much chance to win. However, if he was injured, Qin Wushuang would not be afraid at all. For a second calamity genuine Supreme Tao warrior with an injured divine soul, he would not unleash more than 50% of his power. For a Exine Tianwen with 50% of his power, even if Qin Wushuang could not win, certainly it would not be a problem to deal with him. Although only half a year had passed after 3 years of solitary training, Qin Wushuang's strength had also risen along with the tide. He was not standing still, not to mention the increase of his own stage, especially the training of the Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal and the 9 Palace Return 1 Sword Formation. It made Qin Wushuang even more confident. Now, regardless of a head-on confrontation or a long-distance attack, Qin Wushuang was armed to the teeth, and his power was first class. Of course, this was only one of Qin Wushuang's plans. Unless it was the last resort, naturally Qin Wushuang could still keep his cool. He had to cherish every single day. He wished he could split the 24 hours of every day into 2 halves. In this way, another half a year passed. In this half a year, although the Qin clan was swaying in the wind and rain, under Qin Shaoyan's stubborn resistance, It allowed the candle flame of the Qin clan to still burn stubbornly. Although it kept swaying, it never went out. In this half a year, it allowed Qin Wushuang's strength to increase another step. He successfully passed the fourth calamity of the Transformation Supreme Dao stage and entered the middle stage. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.qijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 806. This breakthrough did not make Qin Wushuang feel complacent. It was because this breakthrough did not have much influence on the increase of his combat power. Unless he could pass the 3 intermediate calamities quickly and enter the 6th Transformation Supreme Dao stage. It would be best if he could pass a major calamity and achieve the 7th Transformation Supreme Dao stage. If he could achieve the 7th Transformation Supreme Dao stage, with his equipment and the supreme techniques he practiced, he would not feel any pressure even if he were to fight Xi and Tianwen head-on. However, time was too tight. Without 10 years, he would not be able to reach the 7th Transformation Supreme Dao stage. This would be a fantasy. The Supreme Dao stage was a process of accumulation. It was impossible to reach the sky in one step. For this point, Qin Wushuang was also well aware of it. On the path of training, he already had too many experiences of taking shortcuts. However, that was built on the fact that he had been baptized by the divine light. His talent and bloodline were too outstanding in all aspects. Currently, after entering the Transformation Supreme Dao stage, although he was still outstanding and superior in all aspects, in terms of training speed, certainly he would keep slowing down that crazy momentum. If the Transformation Supreme Dao stage could be upgraded at a monstrous speed like the Spiritual Martial Force and the Void Martial stage, of course it would be impossible. Now, Qin Wushuang had the confidence to keep upgrading those 2 secret techniques. Under Qin Wushuang's repeated practice of the Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal, Qin Wushuang had completely comprehended the wood, metal, and fire attributes. He had also practiced the first stage of the seal technique to perfection. The only imperfection was the earth and water attributes. Since he had not successfully congealed the Supreme Dao essence, he lacked an opportunity. It caused the 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal to feel something was missing. However, even if he could not unleash the super powerful power of the 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal, the attack power of a single attribute would be impressive. If he were to pursue the greatest power of the Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal, naturally he would need to equip all 5 attributes. The 5 Supreme Dao powers could be sent out at will, and the cooperation would be perfect. Currently, Qin Wushuang had only grasped 3 attributes. Therefore, what Qin Wushuang urgently needed the most right now was none other than to condense the water attribute and earth attribute divine Dao soul essences. It was not difficult to condense a divine Dao soul. The difficult part was finding a source of spiritual energy that could allow him to condense a divine Dao soul. For example, the scarlet fire, the hibiscus wood, or the 7 treasures golden tree. According to the 5 elements, the north is dominated by water. Generally speaking, the source of the best water spiritual power was located in the extreme North Snow region in the north. The extreme North Snow region was not so easy to deal with. As for the 9 palaces returned to one sword formation, as his cultivation base increased, Qin Wushuang also began to nurture those divine Dao devil statue great puppets, tempering these puppets' combat ability. Driven by the golem puppets, the 9 palaces returned to one sword formation continued to display greater and greater power. 9 puppets, 9 divine abilities, combined into one divine Dao, forming a transcendental attack wave of the 9 palaces. Since Qin Wushuang was in the human countries, naturally he could not control this 9 palaces return to one sword formation. He could not unleash the full power of this sword formation. Each time he practiced these 2 secret techniques, Qin Wushuang would think of all ways to obtain help. On this day, Qin Wushuang was comprehending the second seal of the Great Five Attributes Reincarnation Seal wholeheartedly. Suddenly, the communication jade plate began to fluctuate rapidly. Qin Wushuang's heart thumped as if he realized something. Indeed, it was the spiritual perception movement from the Qin headquarters. He said with a tone that pretended to be calm, "Wushuang, 3 months, at most 3 months." That Xian Tianwen initiated the power of his divine soul completely. Regardless of the cost of injuring his divine soul, he wants to fight the Qin clan to the death. The head chief is at the end of his rope and is on the verge of collapse. You guys, are you all right? Remember, regardless of what happens to the Qin clan, you must stay calm and work hard to survive. Work hard. All of a sudden, Qin Wushuang's heart seemed to have been grabbed. At the end of his rope, Qin Wushuang's heart was dripping blood. Finally, he has reached this step of despair. Qin Wushuang also felt extremely helpless. Finally, this day had arrived early. Not even half of the 3 years that he wanted had passed. At most, there were 3 months left. In other words, the head chief was in imminent danger. Even if he were to hold on, he would not be able to hold on for the last 3 months. This could almost be said as a warning of destruction. If even the head chief was at the end of his rope, then the Qin clan had truly reached the point of being tossed about by the wind and rain. They could be destroyed at any moment. 3 months. Only 3 months left? Strangely, Qin Wushuang did not panic. On the contrary, he became even calmer. Now all hope had been shattered. At least, he would not hold too much hope for these 3 years of solitary training to be successful. Now, there was only one reality before him. In a truly difficult situation, under the worsening situation, he had to find a way to deal with it and find a gap to survive. Qin Wushuang knew that this time, it would be different than any other crisis in the past. This time, the crisis of the Qin clan would be a complete crisis. Even the mysterious head sect leader could not possibly have any other trump cards. To put it bluntly, if the Qin clan must have any trump cards, any advantageous factor to turn defeat into victory, it would only be Qin Wushuang. He was the only one. To destroy the Qin clan, Xian Tianwen did not hesitate to injure his divine soul. This is a chance. An impulsive, evil thought flashed across Qin Wushuang's mind. When he returned to the mountain cave beneath the Great Song Mountain, Qin Wushuang said to Qin Taichong and Qin Shaoong, "Senior brothers, the situation of the Qin clan is getting more difficult. We must stop our 3 years of hard training ahead of time." What? Qin Taichong and Qin Shaoong felt their hearts skip a beat. At this moment, Qin Wushuang's tone made them realize vividly that something was not right. Xian Tianwen used his divine soul to activate the Nirvana heavenly plow. The head chief is like a lamp that has run out of oil and cannot continue. The mountain-protecting spiritual ley lines of the Qin clan could at most last for 3 months. They were in imminent danger. Qin Taichong and Qin Shaohong exchanged a glance. Their eyes were filled with awe. Immediately, the expression of these two had become solemn. A form of unswerving determination emerged on their faces. Junior brother Wushuang, the Qin clan has reached the most crucial moment of life and death. We cannot sit and do nothing. Even if we succeed in training in the future, if the foundation of the Qin clan does not exist, how could we have the face to live in this world? Qin Taichong's hot blood was also boiling. He wished he could travel 10,000 miles to kill his way to the aspiring throne mountain. Senior brother is right. Although it's important to preserve the bloodline and pass on the legacy. However, to let us watch the aspiring Throne Mountain Qin clan get broken through and massacred, how could we feel at ease? Junior brother Wushuang, could it be we are truly at our wits' end? The blood and qi of these two surged, and for the time being, they were also overwhelmed with emotions. Qin Wushuang could sense the wild presence of these two. He could also completely understand the feelings of these two to serve their family and sect. However, to contribute to the Qin clan and to save the Qin clan from calamity would not be like a moth throwing itself into the fire. They must pay attention to tactics and strategy. If they did not have any tactics, without a doubt, the three of them would fall into the enemy's trap. They could set up an inescapable net and wait for them to jump into it. As soon as they entered the pouch would tighten and they would be captured. By that time, they could make up a few high-sounding reasons and use the authority of the Heavenly Emperor Gate to judge them. From beginning to end, it would be a one-man show for the Heavenly Emperor Gate. They would certainly die. Of course, they must not let the Heavenly Emperor Gate's wishful thinking work. Qin Wushuang looked at the fervent eyes of his two senior brothers and said, "Senior brothers, when the Qin clan encounters such fate, of course the three of us cannot sit and do nothing. However, even if we are to enter the battle, we must pay attention to a strategy. Or else, with the power of the three of us, we will have limited influence on the battle situation. Junior brother Wushuang, you are smart. If you have any good ideas, just tell us. Xiaohong and I will be two spears. Wherever you tell us to go, we will go." Naturally, Qin Taichung had great temperament as he pressed forward courageously. "Senior brothers, if we fight with brute force, it will not help even if we have 3 more people. I think that the most unreliable faction of the Heavenly Emperor should be those 3 neutral sections. Therefore, once we return to the Xian Yuan Mound, the breakthrough point must be on the general standpoint of disintegrating the Heavenly Emperor Party. The Heavenly Emperor Party has always had an unstable foundation. Half of the reason why those 3 major sects participated in this matter was because they were coerced. The other half of the reason was the pursuit of status and personal gains. For such an unfair alliance, certainly there will be gaps. This unstable foundation gave Qin Wushuang many opportunities to take advantage of. Senior brothers, please look. This is the general map of the Xian Yuan Mound. The Thousand Feather Sect, 100 Lane Clan, and Mysterious Reform Gate are all within the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. However, their exact locations are different. Now, if we head to the Aspiring Throne Mountain directly, I am afraid it will be difficult to get out of this situation. We will use the method of besieging the way to rescue the Zhao to attack those 3 neutral sections. We will bluff and intimidate those 3 sects to force them to withdraw. At least, we must cause them to have internal discord. Once the seeds of internal strife emerge, certainly it will keep spreading and form a prairie fire." Indeed, Qin Wushuang's tone was extremely superior. Qin Taichung nodded thoughtfully. Yes, the Heavenly Punishing Villa and the Sound of Thunder sect have a 1,000-year-old grudge with the Qin clan. Certainly they will not rest until one of them dies. Their alliance with the Heavenly Emperor Gate is unbreakable. As long as the alliance exists, they will exist. Without the alliance, how could they be safe and sound? Therefore, they are determined to wear the same pair of pants as the Xian clan. 6 sects of the same sect will become 3. Don't look at how the problem has not changed much. The blow to the Heavenly Emperor Gate's morale cannot be underestimated. Most importantly, the authority of the Heavenly Emperor Gate at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain will be completely overturned. To the Qin clan, it will definitely be the best opportunity to bounce back. The strategy had already been determined. The first stop would not be to attack the Heavenly Emperor Party of the Aspiring Throne Mountain. Instead, they would split into 3 groups and use a surprise attack to attack the headquarters of those 3 sections. Of course, this attack would also pay attention to the timing. The first wave would be a probing attack. The goal would be to serve as a warning. If the first wave of attack did not work, the second wave would be completely different. Qin Wushuang would use a thunderous method to strike one of the sects ruthlessly. He would make them pay an irreparable price. As soon as the thunderous method was used, it would be strange if those 3 neutral sects did not submit obediently. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 807. Although the chief said the Qin clan could hold on for 3 more months, in fact, no one could be precise about how long they could hold on. Qin Wushuang did not want to joke with the fate of the Qin clan. Therefore, he decided to move immediately. Qin Wushuang knew that for this battle, they were in fact taking the initiative. The battle between the Qin and the Xian clan could not be accomplished in one battle. Clearly, it was impossible to completely annihilate the Xian clan through this battle. For this battle, Qin Wushuang's strategic goal was to disintegrate the Heavenly Emperor Party. As long as the Heavenly Emperor Party was disintegrated, the Qin clan would have a great chance to take a breather. As long as the Qin clan had a chance to take a breather, Qin Wushuang could fight for more time. Only a little more than a year had passed from the 3 years of solitary training. If he could have another 2 years to develop, Qin Wushuang's trump cards would keep becoming stronger. By that time, it would be the decisive battle. Additionally, Qin Wushuang was well aware of this. Don't look at how no one from the Xian Yuan totem clan had stepped out to speak when the Heavenly Emperor Party was attacking the aspiring Throne Mountain. If the Qin clan suddenly had the power to counterattack the Xian clan and annihilate the entire clan, most likely the Xian Yuan clan would step out to interfere. In the end, the Xian Yuan clan still leaned toward the Xian clan. This could be seen from the various details. Qin Wushuang knew clearly that even if he had the power to annihilate the Xian clan now, it was not the right time. There is only one best time to annihilate the Xian clan and completely take out this mortal enemy. That would be the Heavenly Emperor election in a few years. That would be the only legitimate opportunity. Even the Totem clan would not be able to interfere with this opportunity. For the Heavenly Emperor election, each clan would have an equal chance. At that time, as long as the Qin clan had the power to defeat the Xian clan, they could exert all their efforts and perform to their heart's content. Qin Wushuang understood the key point. Naturally, he had a clear understanding of the strategic arrangements. 2 senior brothers, for this battle, we must act in secret. Among the Heavenly Emperor 8 gates, the Thousand Feather Sect, the 100 Lane clan, and the mysterious Reform Gate could be said to be below average in terms of strength. In these 10 years, although they supported the Xian clan, they did not commit many evil deeds. To put it bluntly, they were forced to act as accomplices to a villain. Therefore, the first strike was mainly to intimidate. If the 3 great sects refused to come to their senses, don't hold back for the second wave of attacks. Time and time again, we gave them a chance, but they didn't cherish it. Who can they blame? However, Qin Shaoong said, Junior Brother Wushuang, in terms of opportunities, we have already warned these 3 major sections. It's not like we haven't given them a chance before. If it were up to me, I'd just go straight to their door and beat them to a pulp. If I don't show them some tricks, they will treat the Qin family as mud. It was not that Qin Wushuang did not want to use thunderous means. However, he knew clearly that it would be easy to slaughter these 3 major sections. In this case, without a doubt, it would increase the hatred of these 3 major sects towards the Qin clan. They would become even more determined to rely on the Xian clan. For now, the 3 sects were still fence-sitters. He could fight for it. Massacring their sects was easy, but the ones who truly posed a threat were the deity realm powerhouses. To the Qin clan, as long as the Supreme Tao elite warriors did not die, it would not hold much strategic significance to annihilate their entire clan. It would only cause the other party to carry a form of hatred. They would become more invested and target the Qin clan thoroughly. Therefore, it would not be the best choice to use thunderous means in the first wave of attacks and weigh the severity. They would use peaceful means before resorting to force and fight for every advantageous detail. Even after the first wave of attacks, these 3 sects still refused to realize their error. Qin Wushuang did not plan to annihilate those 3 sects at the same time. Instead, he would choose one of them to deal a heavy blow and intimidate the other 2. If the lesson of blood could not make these guys realize their error and mend their ways, then he could only use the most extreme revenge method. On this day, Qin Wushuang and the other 2 came to the Heavenly Royal Mansion to bid farewell to their family in secret. Naturally, Qin Lianshan would not stop them. For the fate of the Qin clan, although Qin Lianshan was the patriarch of a branch, he cared deeply about it. Not only did he not stop them, he encouraged them. Murong Su stayed at the heavenly royal mansion. Firstly, as an elite warrior at the exquisite mysterious boundary stage, and with the good equipment given to her by Qin Wushuang, she could act as a preventive measure. Even if an elite warrior of the Supreme Tao were to invade, with Murong Su's equipment and strength, it would be enough to resist. Murong Su sent Qin Wushuang all the way to the border of the human countries. Then, she said reluctantly, "Brother Wushuang, Bao Bao and the others are waiting for you at the monkey clan. Su Heir, you must take care of your family." Qin Wushuang held Murong Su's slim waist lightly and reminded her with a tender voice. "Yes, I know." Murong Su gently tidied the few strands of hair on Qin Wushuang's forehead. As she looked at Qin Wushuang's well-defined face, the more she looked at him, the more she felt she was fascinated by this man. The three of them entered the dispersed praying mountain and regrouped with Bao Bao and the others at the foot of the Monkey King Mountain. After 10 years, Bao Bao's strength had increased tremendously. The purple flame electric beast had also successfully broken through the final bottleneck and entered the Supreme Tao stage. At this moment, the advantage of being a mutated spiritual beast was unleashed completely. Initially, Fire Kylan was at the 6th calamity of the Coagulate Supreme Tao stage. After 10 years, he had advanced to the 8th calamity of the Coagulate Supreme Tao stage. Fire Kylan's unique talent in the fire attribute had also greatly inspired the Purple Flame Electric Beast. Under the guidance of Fire Kylan, the Purple Flame Electric Beast had also absorbed the Scarlet Fire underground and congealed his fire soul. Currently, in terms of talent in the fire attribute, the Purple Flame Electric Beast had surpassed his master and had surpassed Fire Kylan. This made Fire Kylan feel incredibly helpless as he cried out loudly. After 10 years of growth, AI Simo was no longer that weak baby dragon. 10 years of growth had also allowed this baby dragon to become a young dragon with astonishing combat power. Bao Bao would not dare to underestimate the bloodline of the immemorial dragon clan. In these 10 years, the growth speed of these 4 great divine beasts could be said to be astonishing. They had become Qin Wushuang's most capable assistants. When they saw Qin Wushuang again, these 4 could not conceal their excitement. Bao Bao even jumped over and shouted, "Boss, I knew that you would be fine, haha. In these 10 years, we have worked extremely hard to train. We will wait for you to come back and have a great battle." "Yes, boss. After enduring for so many years, it's time to fight with the Heavenly Emperor Gate." Currently, the Purple Flame Electric Beast was also in high and vigorous spirits. The warlike blood in his bones was boiling. "Lone, your strength has increased the most rapidly. Congratulations, haha." Qin Wushuang's eyes were sharp as he saw through it with one glance. Currently, although none of these 4 guys had entered the Transformation Supreme Tao stage, they were all at the 7th or 8th calamity of the Coagulate Supreme Tao stage. For your information, the other 3 were at the Coagulate Supreme Tao stage 10 years ago. However, the Purple Flame Electric Beast had yet to break into the Supreme Tao stage at that time. Now, when they met again, he was already at the 7th calamity of the Coagulate Supreme Tao stage. Naturally, Qin Wushuang had a whole new level of respect for him due to the speed of his strength increase. Usually, the Purple Flame Electric Beast was most convinced by Qin Wushuang. When he received a few compliments from Boss, he could not refrain from beaming with joy. He drew back his mouth and appeared silly. "Master, regardless of how fast we increase our strength, we cannot catch up with you." Indeed, Fire Kylan was extremely shocked. 10 years ago, when he first met Qin Wushuang had only entered the Supreme Tao stage not long ago. Currently, Qin Wushuang, who stood before him, was clearly an elite warrior at the Transformation Supreme Tao stage. For such speed, not to mention he had never seen it before, he had never even heard of it before. 10 years of time was simply a legend. AI Simo approached him with a chuckle. "Daddy, where's my cheat mommy?" It was normal when this little elf did not speak, but when she did, her words were simply astonishing. Indeed, as soon as she asked this question, the other three guys all looked at Qin Wushuang with an ambiguous look. Bao Bao even teased him. Boss, I heard you were molested by a young lady of the Dragon Clan at the Eastern Sea. Haha, senior sister Mu Rong is the most generous one. You're not angry at all. Su'er knows? Qin Wushuang felt a headache. Initially, Qin Wushuang did not plan to talk about Miss Mi Jia's embarrassing matters. Haha, with AI Simo, this little girl with a quick mouth, how can we hide the secret? Bao Bao spoke with the tone of an adult. Although 10 years had passed, in terms of age, Bao Bao was only a little over 20 years old. For your information, when he first met Qin Wushuang, Bao Bao was only a little monkey at the age of 7. AI Simo did not feel ashamed. Instead, she felt proud. She said with a smile, Daddy, Bao Bao is old. He is envious of my invincible youth. Qin Wushuang felt a burst of headache. He already had a headache when Bao Bao and Lone bickered. Now, with the addition of Fire Kylin and AI Simo, these two buffoons, it seemed like a group of buffoons had appeared. Qin Wushuang could not help but feel a headache. He immediately interrupted them. All right, stop with the nonsense. Who was the one that said they want to fight a big battle? Me? Bao Bao's eyes lit up. Boss, is there a fight? Boss, are we going to attack the Heavenly Emperor Gate? Count me in. The purple flame electric beast was unwilling to be left out. Haha, big battle? It's been a long time since I've experienced it. Fire Kylin licked its giant tongue. AI Simo had always been a person that craved for the world to be in chaos. Since she was born, she had always caused trouble. She narrowed her eyes into a line. Daddy, I also want to go. Go, all of you go. Qin Wushuang said leisurely. Fire Kylin, you are older and steadier. Accompany my 2 senior brothers to attack the Thousand Feathers sect. Among these 4 guys, most likely Fire Kylin was the easiest to order around. After all, Qin Wushuang had performed the divine venomous insect technique on him, and he had a master and servant contract with him. Yes, master. Qin Wushuang waved his hand. Do it well. When this matter is over, I will get rid of the divine venomous insect and restore your freedom. These 20 years of hard work will be the price for losing to me in the past. Thank you, master. No divine beast was willing to become a contract beast. Naturally, he was overjoyed when he heard that he could regain his freedom. He emphasized, Master, even if I regain my freedom, I am willing to follow you. In these 10 years, Fire Kylin had gotten along harmoniously with Bao Bao and Lone. He was also used to living with companions. It was much more fun than living alone in the past. Therefore, even if Qin Wushuang chased him away, he would not be willing to go. Bao Bao Lone, you two are old partners. You are also not unfamiliar with the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. Would it be a problem to let you guys deal with the mysterious Reform Gate? Aha, don't worry, boss. In 3 days, I promise to annihilate them all. The purple flame electric beast was full of confidence. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 808. Qin Wushuang gave a leisurely smile and shook his head. No, this is the first round of the battle. The most important thing is to intimidate, not to kill. He briefly explained the strategy. As Bao Bao and Lone had followed Qin Wushuang for many years, they had formed a great tacit understanding with Qin Wushuang. Upon hearing Qin Wushuang's explanation, they understood Qin Wushuang's intention. They had always followed Qin Wushuang's lead, and there was no problem with their execution. Bao Bao said with a beaming smile, Boss, we understand. It means that we will use all methods to intimidate the mysterious Reform Gate and form a psychological attack to make their psychological defense collapse, right? Well said. Qin Wushuang laughed. Bao Bao, I didn't see that in these 10 years you have matured. Great, there is a reward. With a flash, a completely golden iron rod appeared in his hand. He said, This weapon is close to the genuine Supreme Tao level. I heard that it was forged by mixing the dark meteoric iron, extreme green jade essence, and dragon saliva gold iron. Its power is extraordinary. I see that you have never had a suitable weapon, so I will give you this weapon. Really? Instantly, Bao Bao's eyes lit up. He scuttled over and pulled this iron rod with an imposing manner into his hand. Then, he set up a stance and played a few tricks. Then, he roared with laughter. Boss, this is great. This weapon is what I have dreamed of. Boss, thank you. Perhaps due to his immemorial bloodline, Bao Bao had liked to use weapons like rods since he was young. However, in all these years, he had never had a suitable weapon. Now, with this iron rod in his hand, naturally he was like a tiger that had grown wings. As soon as he held it, Bao Bao could not put it down. He played with it repeatedly and wanted to play with it for 3 days and 3 nights. He wanted to poke a hole in the sky and smash a giant hole in the earth. Fire Kylan and Lone, you two usually do not use weapons. However, since you have formed the supreme Tao Fire Soul, I will pass you an ultimate technique that has endless power. The first style is called Nine Dragons Flame. If you master it well, you will be able to kill people above your level effortlessly. The Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal was not a bluff. Most likely, one would not be able to find more than 3 of such lost techniques in the entire Tianxian land. Qin Wushuang was willing to pass on this Great 5 Elements Samsara Seal to them naturally because they were his trusted subordinates. Furthermore, he had only taught them the first level of the profound mysteries. This lost art focuses on the mental cultivation method and the hand seals. Once you master it, regardless of whether you are in your beast form or human form, the prowess of the technique will be the same. Of course, when I'm in human form, I'll be able to control it more flexibly, and its relative lethality should be higher as well. After all, the combat prowess of the beast race's true form was definitely more powerful. When he transformed into his human form, he paralyzed the enemy. Then, he suddenly used his trump card, which was even more lethal. That was also because he won by surprise. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Boss. When AI Simo saw that all her companions had received gifts, she couldn't help but cry out, Father, don't tell me I don't have a share. I won't agree to it. How could a mischievous spirit like you be left out? Qin Wushuang laughed. Weapon or technique, tell me. You want me to tell you? AI Simo blinked her pretty eyes. Then I'll tell you. I'm just afraid you won't give it to me. You go first. Qin Wushuang appeared to be generous. All right, I'm not greedy for gifts. I just want a dragon mother. Although that fierce dragon mother from last time was somewhat hateful, I seem to like her a little. Father, if you give that dragon mother. Moer, stop. Qin Wushuang said with a bitter smile. This request is non-negotiable. Besides, you have a mother. She's not your mother. She only hatched you. I have a mother. AI Simo blinked her eyes and asked with a confused tone. Haha, isn't this nonsense? Everyone has a mother. Could it be you popped out from a stone? Bao Bao mocked. You're the one that popped out from a stone. AI Simo seemed to feel that it was the greatest humiliation to her that she had popped out from a stone. Yeah, I heard that in the immemorial era, my monkey clan had an exceptional ancestor that popped out from a stone. Boss, don't you think it's miraculous? Qin Wushuang smiled bitterly and inwardly. Could it be there was also a monkey son in the immemorial era? Currently, he was not in the mood to think about the matters of the immemorial era. Thus, he did not continue the topic and said to AI Simo, Moer, you have the bloodline left behind by the immemorial dragon clan. Your mother has already passed away. However, I know you have a sibling. If you must get a gift, I can help you find this sibling. Passed away? What does that mean? AI Simo was confused. Ha ha ha. Bao Bao could not help but laugh. You don't even know about passing away. Doesn't that mean? Suddenly, he stopped talking because Bao Bao realized that Qin Wushuang was glaring at him from the corner of his eyes. He cast away his mouth. All right, Moer, Boss is saying that your mother has already gone to another world. You won't be able to see her. However, it's not bad to have a sibling. AI Simo tilted her head, but she didn't pester him. She seemed to have guessed what was going on, and her expression was a little sad. After a long time, she asked, Father, where are my brothers and sisters? Moer, Your sibling is not born yet. However, with the current conditions, you can let it descend to the world at any time. To hatch a dragon egg, one would need the supreme Tao dragon breath. Initially, Qin Wushuang did not have the capital and had asked Mi Jia for help to hatch AI Simo. Currently, the immemorial dragon bloodline inside his body had been completely stimulated, and he could transform into a dragon at any time. Naturally, it would not be a problem for him to spit out the dragon breath. Even if he did not do it himself, Fire Kylan was related to the dragon clan and also a descendant of the immemorial dragon clan. He could hatch the remaining dragon egg. AI Simo appeared thoughtful and did not speak a word. Qin Wushuang continued the previous topic and said, "Bao Bao, you and Lone will go to the mysterious Reform Gate. Fire Kylan and my 2 senior brothers will go to the Thousand Feather Sect. I will take Mo Heir to the 100 Lane clan. Remember, you must hide your tracks carefully. Now, the entire Xianyuan mound is filled with spies. Of course, with your methods. If you act carefully, it's not a problem to keep your tracks a secret. We will set a month as the deadline. After a month, listen to my orders and act together." "Yes." Qin Wushuang turned around to say to Qin Taichong and Qin Shaoeng, 2 senior brothers, "Fire Kylan is the divine beast of the endless eastern sea and possesses great power. With his protection, you can do whatever you want at the Thousand Feather Sect. Even if the 2 supreme Dao elite warriors of the Thousand Feather Sect are at the sect, they cannot do anything to Fire Kylan. Not to mention, their supreme Dao elite warriors are not at the mountain gate. Fire Kylan, these 2 are my senior brothers. You must not put on the airs of a divine beast before them. You must discuss everything and listen to my senior brother's orders." "Yes, master." Fire Kylan knew that he could only carry out his master's orders. "Okay, let's go separately." After the distribution, they split into 3 groups and headed towards the direction of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. Qin Wushuang brought AI Simo. With the cover of the Heart Illusion Mask, he was not worried about exposing his tracks. Even if the Heavenly Emperor Gate had extensive spies, as long as Qin Wushuang deliberately concealed himself, the possibility of being exposed would be minimal. After all, his goal was to head straight to the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, and he would not get involved in any disputes along the way. If he were to travel at full speed, with his current strength, he could arrive at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain in less than 10 days. However, to avoid people's eyes and ears, he must slow down his speed. After about 20 days, Qin Wushuang arrived near the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. Per the instructions of the observant finger jade plate, Bao Bao and the others had also arrived after splitting into 3 groups. To avoid beating the grass and alerting the snake, Qin Wushuang did not observe the situation at the aspiring Throne Mountain. During these few days of forbearance, Qin Wushuang did not slack off and focused on comprehending the Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal. Currently, he had started to comprehend the 2nd profound stage of the wood, fire, and metal attributes. The Great 5 Attributes Reincarnation Seal had 5 stages. Naturally, the power of this 2nd stage had increased compared to the 1st stage. There are also some changes. Compared to the 1st stage, the 2nd stage of the wood attribute, the Withering Flourishing Seal, was not a healing hand technique. On the contrary, the power of this Withering Flourishing Seal was extremely terrifying. The power of its attack could almost be said as a tyrannical tactic that could determine life and death. When the Withering Flourishing Seal was used, one would either live or die. Withering symbolized desolation and death. Flourishing symbolized life and vitality. Between withering and flourishing, this Withering Flourishing Seal contained great wisdom and a great stage. As Qin Wushuang comprehended the Withering Flourishing Seal, he was also astonished by the profoundness of this Withering Flourishing Seal. This Withering Flourishing Seal obviously already contains some supreme philosophies between heaven and earth. Withering and flourishing were the law and rule of the growth of all living things in nature. Although this Withering Flourishing Seal had not reached the stage of controlling the rules, It had actually already integrated the wisdom of the rules into it. Therefore, compared to the spring wind and rain, which was a purely healing method, the withering flourishing seal was naturally much more powerful. Qin Wushuang immersed himself in comprehending the withering flourishing seal for 10 days. It was also impossible for him to comprehend the second stage of the metal and fire attribute hand seals. He only had a rough understanding. The second stage of the fire attribute hand seal was called Prairie Fire. Its power was naturally much stronger than the first stage. As for the metal attribute hand seal, the second stage of the hand seal was called Unbreakable Vajra. When a hand seal was formed, it could transform into countless golden figures. Its attack power was strong, and its aura was domineering. It could be said that among the 5 attributes, it could not be ranked second. Inside the 100 Lane clan, it was peaceful at this moment. No one knew that a storm was brewing quietly. The dark clouds were already above the 100 Lane clan. The supreme Dao elite warriors of the 100 Lane clan had not returned for 10 years. This made the entire clan more or less slack off and somewhat hesitant. The great elder who was in charge of the overall situation in the clan also had some complaints. His current cultivation was at the peak of the common mysterious realm. It was the crucial period to break through to the supreme Dao realm. However, the 2 clan leaders in the clan had let him come out to take charge of the overall situation of the clan, wasting a lot of time. One should know that his current age already had no advantage. If he wasted a year, the chances of breaking through to the supreme Dao realm would be even slimmer, let alone 10 years. However, the great responsibility of the clan had fallen on his head. He could not shirk it even if he wanted to. In helplessness, he could only complain while being a hands-off shopkeeper and distribute the big and small affairs of the clan leaders. Stealing a trace of free time, he continued to break through to the supreme Dao realm. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 809. The 15th of each month was the day the 100 Lane clan worshipped their ancestors. Regardless of how unwilling Bai Li Feng, the head elder of the 100 Lane clan was, he must participate in this ceremony. Using this opportunity, the other elders of the clan would certainly keep Bai Li Feng and report to him about the recent major events of the clan. They would also use this opportunity to report the matters that required him to make a decision. Bai Li Feng could not abandon his responsibilities completely. Although he was still unwilling inwardly, he must do it on the surface. Head elder, I heard that the situation at the Aspiring Throne Mountain is becoming clearer. The 2 patriarchs also sent good news from time to time. They said that the annihilation of the Qin clan is just around the corner. It will happen in the next 1 or 2 months. The 2 patriarchs asked me to ask you, are you interested in going to the Aspiring Throne Mountain? Why should we rush to the Aspiring Throne Mountain? Could it be they don't have enough people? Bai Li Feng did not have much interest. Now he put all his focus on making a dash for the Supreme Dao stage. Of course we have enough people. Second elder, Bai Li Shi laughed. Could it be that head elder forgot that the 2 patriarchs once said that the Heavenly Emperor had promised to kill and loot the Qin clan's upright morality hall? Everyone who saw it will have a share. As long as you're a person of the 6th sex, regardless of identity, position, or treasure, it will belong to whoever gets it. It was a great temptation. Instantly, Bai Li Feng was energized and lights shone from his eyes. His hands that pressed onto the armrest of the chair could not help but tremble slightly. His chest moved up and down, and a trace of greed flashed across his pair of muddy eyes. Being the old powerhouse of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, the Heavenly Emperor Qin clan was known as the 2 trump cards of the Heavenly Emperor Mountain along with the Yun clan. They were even older than the current Heavenly Emperor Xian clan. With tens and thousands of years of foundation, certainly there would be many good things inside the mountain gate. Bai Li Feng thought, besides those supreme Dao elite warriors, how many people are at the peak of the common mysterious stage? 10 years ago, In that battle, a young disciple of the Qin clan killed many elite warriors of the exquisite mysterious boundary stage. The 100 Lane clan also suffered great losses. Fortunately, I was in solitary training and did not go, or else I would have turned into ashes. Now, with the aspiring throne mountain in hand, it would be nice if I go and pick up a good bargain. Bai Li Feng was a cunning old fox. How could he not see through this bargain? Moved inwardly, he narrowed his eyes. The temptation of the Qin clan was too great. The Qin clan had always been an old sect at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. Once it was breached, the treasures inside would surely be plentiful. Apart from deity realm powerhouses, how many people could snatch from peak mystic comprehending powerhouses? Bai Li Feng was very confident that if he participated, he would definitely gain a lot of benefits. But now that he was about to charge into the Supreme Tao realm, was it worth it to waste his time? Obviously, he still had to weigh the pros and cons. The Supreme Tao fruit definitely won't be mine. If he could snatch a Supreme Tao armor, this trip would not be in vain. Taking a step back, even if he managed to snatch a Supreme Tao weapon, he would still have profited. If I can't even get a weapon of the Supreme Tao, the other things won't mean much to me. Suddenly, the sound of noisy footsteps could be heard from the outside. A messenger disciple quickly walked in and said, "Elders, a strange person has arrived outside the mountain gate. He wants to see the person in charge of our 100 Lane clan. Is that right?" "Strange person? What strange person?" Bai Li Feng waved his hand unhappily. "I will not see him. Tell him to get lost." This head elder, that person said that if he does not see the person in charge, he will not be courteous to the 100 Lane clan. Although the words of that person sounded humble, in fact, he is arrogant and rude. "How dare you?" Bai Li Feng slapped the table. "What does that person look like?" "That person is expressionless. There is nothing special about him," that messenger disciple said stutteringly. At this moment, outside the mountain gate, a slow voice gushed in like the tide. It seemed as if circles of ripples had spread into the mountain gate of the 100 Lane clan. "Person in charge of the 100 Lane clan, come out." "Humph, don't think that your sect defense is strong. If your sect defense is comparable to the Qin and Yun clan, I will turn around and leave without a second word. However, your defense formation is not even 1/3 of the Qin and Yun clans. Do you think you can sit back and relax by hiding inside? Ha ha ha." In the beginning, this voice sounded soothing. Yet like boiling water in the fire, it boiled more and more. In the end, it almost boiled up inside the mountain gate of the 100 Lane clan. It was as if the mountain wind and the sea rain had gushed in together. The astonishing temperament made all disciples of the 100 Lane clan wake up with a start. Each of them revealed a panicked expression as if a great enemy had appeared. When all the elders of the clan heard this voice, their minds trembled. They looked at each other, and there were traces of confusion in their eyes. There were also some fear that was not well hidden. "Who is it?" Bai Li Feng could not help but ask. The other elders all shook their heads. Clearly, they were also clueless. Boom! Just when they looked at each other in dismay, there was a slight shake inside the mountain gate. The cups on the table before them also started to sway. With a series of banging sounds, they fell to the ground. The first strike was only a warning. "If you want to test whether I have this ability, you can try." This voice still sounded calm and unruffled in the midst of chaos and did not carry any harsh tone. However, in the ears of elders like Bai Li Feng, it sounded exceptionally fearful. They did not even understand which evil god they had provoked. However, without a doubt, this person's cultivation definitely surpassed all of them present. And he definitely had the ability to attack their mountain gates' great formation. Once the mountain gates' great formation was broken, no one could predict what kind of attack the entire 100 Lane clan would suffer. "Head elder, regarding this matter, we have to inform the 2 clan leaders." One of the elders said immediately, "Yes, we have to inform the clan leaders." Bai Li Feng's face was ashen. The clan leaders and the others are at the aspiring throne mountain, and the situation is unclear. Even if we inform them now, it will be like distant water that cannot quench the present thirst. that's still better than us fighting here, right? I'm guessing that the other party must have the strength of the Supreme Tao. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to be so arrogant. Bai Li Feng nodded. Informing the clan leaders is a must. The problem is if we hold this guy back until the clan leaders and the others rush back. The voice from outside sounded again. No response? Then you're telling me that I can attack the 100 Lane clan's mountain guarding formation with all my strength. Don't blame me for saying the ugly words first. If I break through the mountain gate of the 100 Lane clan, not even a chicken or a dog will be left in your clan. By the end of his words, each word seemed to be a vicious curse that swept into the ears of everyone from the 100 Lane clan. It made each of their complexion turn ashen and their hearts surged endlessly. Outside the mountain gate of the 100 Lane clan, Qin Wushuang held a treasured sword that was filled with an overbearing aura. He had already seen through most of the mountain gate of the 100 Lane clan. He was confident that before the 9th calamity genuine supreme Tao weapon unleashed by him, a mountain gate at this level would not have much of an effect. For a divine weapon at the 9th calamity genuine supreme Tao stage, even those paramount totem elite warriors might not possess it, not to mention other people. Initially, when Xin Yuan Wei bestowed a Nirvana heavenly plow to Xian Tianwen, it already made him feel as if he had received a supreme treasure. As for that Nirvana heavenly plow, it only accompanied Xin Yuan Wei to pass the 4th calamity. The difference between the 4th calamity and the 9th calamity within the genuine supreme Tao stage was apparent. Therefore, when Qin Wushuang held this heavenly emperor sword, perhaps he could not unleash its strongest power when fighting against an elite warrior. However, it was the most suitable weapon to deal with such motionless and immobile formations. The purple wings changed rapidly behind Qin Wushuang's back. As he flapped the wings, he transformed into a burst of purple light and dashed into the sky. Raising the heavenly emperor sword from his hand, as if a god had descended, he brought along an emotionless power of judgment and slashed before the first barrier. As the sword light swept past, golden lights glittered. Chila! With a crisp sound, it was as if a knife had cut through tofu. This barrier did not have any power to resist, as it was slashed into powder and collapsed. Qin Wushuang did not even twitch his eyebrows as he kept attacking one after another. The golden lights shot from the heavenly emperor's sword crisscrossed in a crisscrossing pattern. Like scarecrows, those barriers could not withstand a single blow and kept getting broken. Such method of breaking the barriers made those elite warriors of the 100 Lane clan dumbstruck. Their hands and feet went numb as they completely lost their bearings. They thought that even if the enemy was powerful, it would not be easy to break the barriers. At least, it would take some time and some twists and turns. Wasn't the Heavenly Emperor Gate powerful? Before the mountain gate of the Qin clan, it had not been broken even after 10 years. This made them have blind confidence in the mountain protection barrier. However, they did not think that how could the barriers of the 100 Lane clan be comparable to the mountain protection formation of the Qin clan? If it were the mountain protection formation of the Heavenly Emperor Gate, Qin Wushuang knew that even with the Heavenly Emperor's sword and other 9th Calamity genuine supreme weapons, most likely he could not break it. Even if he were to break it by force, with his current strength, most likely it would take him 3 to 5 years. However, after all, the 100 Lane clan was a third-rate existence among the Heavenly Emperor 8 Gates. Not to mention being compared to the 3 veteran powerhouses, most likely even the Heavenly Punishing Villa and the Sound of Thunder sect were much more powerful than these 3 powerhouses. For the last 2, is 1 hour enough? Qin Wushuang let out a leisurely laugh. When I arrive here, you will inform the 2 supreme Tao elite warriors of the 100 Lane clan immediately. They will withdraw immediately and return to the clan. It will take at least 4 hours. I believe that in this time, I have enough time to destroy your 100 Lane clan 3 times. Bai Li Feng breathed heavily. He knew that this time, the 100 Lane clan had encountered a tough nut to crack, a ruthless character. Everyone, this person is speaking the truth. When the two patriarchs make it back, it's enough to destroy the 100 Lane clan 3 times. Does anyone have a strategy to repel the enemy? This guy mentioned that he wants to see the person in charge. Currently, the person in charge of the clan is none other than you, head elder. Bai Li Feng gave a cold snort and glanced around. He said coldly, "This way, you want me to go out and be the scapegoat, right? Head patriarch, I am afraid you cannot shoulder this great responsibility alone. Why don't all of us go out together? In the case of a conflict, we can swarm up and attack him when he is unprepared." Bai Li Feng shook his head with a cold sneer. Swarm up? When dealing with elite warriors of the Supreme Tao stage, it doesn't matter how many of you there are. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 810. Boom, boom, boom. Just as they were discussing, another layer of the outer restrictive spells was broken. The restrictive spells of the 100 Lane clan weren't made of tofu. Although their foundation of a few thousand years couldn't be compared to those that have been passed down for tens of thousands of years, these restrictive spells of the 100 Lane clan had gone through countless ups and downs. Many transformation, supreme, Tao warriors had failed to break the restrictive spells of the Mountain Gate. This was also recorded in the historical records of the clan. But today, how could the clan's restrictive spells be so fragile? Bai Li Feng and the others had a strong, uneasy thought in their hearts. That was, the opponent was too terrifying. He was even more terrifying than the strongest opponent the 100 Lane clan had ever met. There was only one last restrictive spell left. Although it was the strongest one, with the enemy's momentum, no matter how strong this last restrictive spell was, it couldn't change the current situation of the entire 100 Lane clan. This is the last chance. After this restrictive spell is broken, I will pile up the corpses of the 100 Lane clan into a mountain. I will let the blood of the 100 Lane clan flow like a river. Qin Wushuang's voice was like an azura from hell. There wasn't a trace of human emotion. Bai Li Feng's body shook. His turbid eyes revealed a look of despair. He was speechless and looked up to the heavens. He muttered to himself, "Could it be that the heavens want me to die? I'm only one step away from the supreme Tao realm, but I've encountered such a catastrophe. What kind of expert did the 100 Lane clan offend?" The other elders' faces were also ugly. One of the elders with a strong temperament roared, "Great elder, at this moment, you're still fussing over your personal gains and losses. The clan's crisis is at hand. You're the great elder, and you're enjoying all the benefits normally. Now, you don't have any responsibility at all?" After the first one exploded, the anger in the other elders' hearts was also ignited. "Yes, great elder. Normally, you're a boss who doesn't do anything, so we don't say anything. At this critical moment, you still don't do anything. How are you going to handle this clan? Everyone respects you as the first elder. At this time, if you don't do anything, then you'll be the one to blame. If you don't do anything now, you'll just have to wait to kill yourself in front of the ancestors of the 100 Lane clan. Let it be a coward here. Let's go." The dissatisfaction that these elders usually had with the great elder erupted in an instant. All of them were filled with righteous indignation as they glanced at Bai Li Feng with disdain. Bai Li Feng's old face was incomparably vivid, alternating between green and white. He had absolute authority in the Council of Elders, and he had always enjoyed this kind of authority. He had never thought that these elders would dare to be impudent in front of him. Therefore, he was unable to recover from the sudden outburst of power. By the time he figured it out, the elders had already leaped out one by one. The first elder's face was covered with a layer of frost. "Are all of you acting like hot-blooded men in front of me? All right, you guys love to be in the limelight. All of you go and throw your lives away. Let's see if a Supreme Tao Elite is someone you guys can resist." Bai Li Feng's natural disposition was selfish and cold. At this moment, his thoughts were no longer on how to defend against the external enemies. Instead, he was pondering when exactly the two patriarchs would be able to rush back. At this moment, the communication Jade tablet reacted violently. "Great Elder, The enemy is right in front of us. Why are you cowering and not coming out? The voice of the great patriarch sounded urgently. Grand Patriarch, the enemy's strength is simply not something that the elder group can withstand. If you guys don't come back, the clan will be in danger. Instead of letting the experts in the clan go and do meaningless resistance, it's better to break up the whole into parts and use the sex terrain to protect ourselves and preserve our strength. It's really unwise to fight the enemy head-on. Bai Li Feng had his own reasons, and he continued to speak emotionally. Our 100 Lane clan's foundation is not thick in the first place. If all of the elders die in battle, who will support this 100 Lane clan's great cause? With only the 2 patriarchs as lone commanders, what hope does the 100 Lane clan have? These words sounded very convincing, and people could not find any loopholes. Bai Li Feng, cut the crap. Even if you want to preserve your strength, you are not able to pacify the elder group, and causing internal division in the elder group is also a big responsibility. Now, I order you in the name of the patriarch to go out and negotiate with the enemy. No matter what method you use, delay the enemy. Wait for us to come back. Let all the elders retreat. You go. Grand Patriarch, are you asking me to throw my life away? Bai Li Feng's expression changed. You are the Grand Elder. This is where your responsibility lies. Negotiation may not necessarily be throwing your life away. Since that person wants to see the person in charge, he must have something to say. How do you know that he must kill you? The Grand Patriarch spoke harshly, and his tone was already extremely angry. Bai Li Feng was still hesitating. The Grand Patriarch shouted, Bai Li Feng, retreating at the last minute is the shame of the clan. If you don't want your bloodline to be removed from the 100 Lane clan, no matter what reason you have, immediately carry out the order. Bai Li Feng gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. The patriarch used his bloodline to threaten him, and this was Bai Li Feng's weak spot. Fine, patriarch, I'll go. If something happens to me, and the clan does not treat my bloodline well, even if I turn into a ghost, I will not let it go. Bai Li Feng thought that he was a senior in the clan, and at this time he also took advantage of his seniority and shouted, You're on your own. The Grand Patriarch's voice was restrained, and it was already silent. Bai Li Feng wished he could smash the spiritual sense transmission jade tablet in his hand into pieces. He was very depressed in his heart, and he walked out in large strides. Outside the mountain gate, the last restriction was already in imminent danger. 7 to 8 elders were lined up in a line, holding their breaths with rapt attention. Obviously, they were waiting for this tragic moment to arrive. Bai Li Feng's voice swayed, and he had already landed in front of the elders. He shouted, The few of you get in. When those elders saw Bai Li Feng rush out, they were all stunned. Don't you have ears? Get lost. Bai Li Feng shouted. Those elders looked at each other in dismay. For a moment, they did not know what this Bai Li Feng was trying to do. Ha ha ha. Very good. Is everyone here? In front of the last restriction, a yellow shadow swayed, like a breeze, floating in spirals and constantly condensing into a human figure in the void. A mighty figure became clearer and clearer, and finally, a lively human figure appeared. This person was naturally Qin Wushuang. He pointed the Heavenly Emperor sword in his hand from afar and initiated the aura of this divine weapon. Instantly, it had intimidated everyone. As if each of them had been petrified, a trace of uncontrollable fear flowed out from their eyes. They looked at Qin Wushuang, who had emerged from the void in panic. This mountain gate's restriction was this weak. Look at his back. What is that? Wings? He is Qin Wushuang. Regarding the topic of Qin Wushuang, there were too many rumors at the Heavenly Emperor 8 gates. Naturally, Qin Wushuang's signature purple cloud yin-yang wings were his most prominent feature. They were as famous as the Heavenly Emperor wings. Some even said that Qin Wushuang had 3 heads and 6 arms and was extremely terrifying. There were many different versions of the rumor, but the purple cloud yin-yang wings existed in every version. Therefore, when they saw Qin Wushuang's signature wings, the elders of the 100 Lane clan had suddenly realized the truth. Qin Wushuang was not surprised by the reaction of these people. A trace of ridicule overflowed from the corner of his mouth. He looked at this group of people with a judgmental gaze. Qin Wushuang, what do you want? Bai Li Feng suppressed the fear in his heart forcefully and asked with a hoarse voice. What do you want me to do? Qin Wushuang narrowed his eyes, and a burst of rich, murderous intent kept spreading out. Bai Li Feng cried out, when the Qin clan fights with the king of hell of the Xian clan, how can you not let us little ghosts suffer? If you have the skill, go fight with the Heavenly Emperor Gate. What's the use of coming to the 100 Lane clan? This way, you feel that the 100 Lane clan is not responsible at all, right? Qin Wushuang seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. The 100 Lane clan was coerced by the Heavenly Emperor Gate. Besides, up to this point, the 100 Lane clan has not posed much threat to the Qin clan, Bai Li Feng quibbled. Yes, these words do make sense, Qin Wushuang said leisurely. Suddenly, a trace of a smile twitched from the corner of his mouth. By the way, do you guys think that if you stall for time here and wait for your two patriarchs to return, everything will be fine? These words were like a heavy hammer that struck the hearts of everyone directly. It completely shattered their trace of wishful thinking. Qin Wushuang, a straightforward person, does not resort to insinuations. Just what do you want? Bai Li Feng felt extremely sorrowful. In the situation where he was the meat on the chopping block, he could not even utter a single vicious word. Initially, I planned to annihilate your entire clan. However, since you guys came out before I broke the last barrier, I could consider giving you guys a chance. As soon as he spoke these words, the expressions of the elders of the 100 Lane clan relaxed. There was still a chance. As long as they did not die on the spot, everything could be discussed. Listen, it's true that the 100 Lane clan was coerced by the Heavenly Emperor Gate. However, 10 years ago, I attacked the Heavenly Emperor Gate, the Heavenly Punishing Villa, and the Sound of Thunder sect, but did not touch your 3 sections. It was to give you guys a chance to mend your ways. Have your 100 Lane clan, Mysterious Reform Gate, and Thousand Feather sect ever cherished it? That time, 10 years ago, Qin Wushuang did indeed give the 3 major sects a chance. And the 3 major sects did have the intention to retreat, but they were helpless. In front of His Majesty, the Heavenly Emperor's power, they could not withdraw in the end. Bai Li Feng was speechless for a moment. I don't want to talk nonsense. You are all the pillars of the 100 Lane clan. But if I want to make a move today, I can kill all of you in an instant. Taking a step back, even if your 2 patriarchs rush back, I can also easily kill them. Unless your patriarchs have the cultivation base of the peak of the transformation supreme Tao stage. Only then can they stop me from doing all this. Qin Wushuang's gaze was awe-inspiring as he looked around. Unfortunately, your great patriarch is just a 5th tribulation transformation supreme Tao stage. This cultivation base is not worth mentioning in my eyes. It is unknown whether he can escape alive in front of me. Many elders were awe-inspiring, but looking at Qin Wushuang's momentum, it seemed that he was indeed not weaker than the great patriarch. The astonishment in their hearts increased. Everyone, open your eyes and look at me. Qin Wushuang's voice seemed to be full of magic. It made these elders like marionettes, and they could not help but look at Qin Wushuang. With this look, everyone immediately felt as if they were under a spell. Their whole body quivered coldly. Rays of mysterious light shot directly into the depths of their eyebrows, making them suddenly feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 811. Qin Wushuang roared with laughter. He initiated the divine venomous insect and shot it into the center of everyone's brows. Not a single fish escaped the net, as all of them were restrained by his divine venomous insect technique. Each of them revealed a dull look, as if they were petrified. After a long time, their divine consciousness gradually woke up but the way they looked at Qin Wushuang was completely different. Their eyes were full of respect and obedience. Master. Greetings, Master. The divine venomous insect technique was very powerful. Today, Qin Wushuang's divine consciousness was 100 times more powerful than these people. When the divine venomous insect technique was activated, it naturally covered the entire space and hit all of them. For your information, Qin Wushuang had already passed the fourth calamity. At the fourth calamity of the Transformation Supreme Tao stage, his spiritual perception was not weaker than ordinary 6 Calamity Transformation Supreme Tao warriors. Moreover, he had this marvelous divine venomous insect technique, which was silent. It was as easy to deal with these cultivators below the Supreme Tao realm as to deal with ants. Qin Wushuang looked normal and said with a smile, "Everyone, remember, I won't take your lives, but I can control your life and death at any time." Are the 2 patriarchs of the Bailey clan on their way back? Yes, Master. Master, Bai Li Feng said respectfully. Very good. Qin Wushuang closed his eyes and thought carefully. The Bailey clan has 2 Supreme Tao experts. One is the Transformation Supreme Tao expert, and the other is the Condensation Supreme Tao expert. It's not difficult for me to deal with one of them. It's troublesome to attack 2 people at the same time with the divine venomous insect technique. However, as long as the tactics are used, it's not difficult to deal with them. Qin Wushuang's eyes stopped on these elders. He suddenly had some ideas. He fixed his eyes on an elder who was about the same height as him. What's your name? What's your position in the Bailey clan? My name is Bai Lijian. I'm the 5th elder of the clan. Very good, it's you. As soon as Qin Wushuang finished speaking, he extended his hand and made a grabbing motion. A golden ray of light shot out from his hand, and a huge handprint appeared, grabbing Bai Lijian. With a pull of his hand, Bai Lijian was imprisoned within his storage bag. Qin Wushuang put on the clothes in his hands. Using the heart illusion mask, he spun 3 times on the spot. When he came to a stop, he already looked like the 5th elder, Bai Lijian. These elders were all dumbfounded. Obviously, they were shocked by Qin Wushuang's methods. This was simply miraculous. Everyone, let's go and welcome the return of the 2 patriarchs. Ha! Qin Wushuang smiled leisurely and said to Bai Li Feng, "First elder, you're in charge of taking the lead. Do you have any objections?" Bai Li Feng hurriedly replied, "This subordinate obeys the order." A few hundred miles away from the 100 Lane clan's mountain gate, Bai Li Feng led the 7 elders and had been waiting for around 2 hours. In the distant sky, 2 rays of light shot over at an extremely fast speed. Obviously, they were the 2 patriarchs who had not been seen for 10 years. Although these elders were poisoned by the divine venomous insect, their hearts were still shaken when they saw the pressure of the 2 patriarchs. They felt slightly uneasy. First patriarch, look over there. Aren't they the elders of the elder group? The second patriarch, Bai Li Tu, cried out in surprise. The first patriarch obviously saw this scene as well. What's going on? Looking at their appearance, although they are a little frightened, they obviously didn't suffer any injuries. Could it be a trap? Let's play it by ear. They are all the clan's right-hand men. Even if some of them are united, they won't all betray us. We don't need to worry too much. The 2 Supreme Tao experts landed at the same time. Bai Li Feng hurriedly went forward and bowed. Patriarchs, you're finally back. The first patriarch, Bai Li Guang, raised his eyebrows. First elder, what's going on? Didn't you say that there's a great enemy? Where's the enemy? Bai Li Feng stuttered. First elder, this is not good. Sweat emerged from Bai Li Feng's forehead as he said, stutteringly. First patriarch, that person came to my mountain gate and acted presumptuously. He destroyed all the defenses of my mountain gate and left a message saying that if the 100 Lane clan remains stubborn, the next time he comes, it will be the day he will annihilate all of us. Did he leave a name? It's the disciple of the Qin clan, Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang? As soon as this name was spoken, the expression of Bai Li Guang and Bai Li Tu changed at the same time. They looked at each other and were greatly astonished. Qin Wushuang. Isn't he at the heavenly fire, southern border? How come he's at the Xin Yuan Mount? Bai Li too was greatly astonished. First Patriarch, behind Bai Li Feng, fifth elder Bai Li Jian said, "That kid carries a pair of giant wings and holds a bow, an arrow full of power. He's very young." This description caused the expression of the two patriarchs to change drastically. This image, if it was not Qin Wushuang, who else could it be? One could impersonate other things, but for that pair of wings, besides the Heavenly Emperor, who else could impersonate it? What else did he say? Bai Li Guang asked with a cold voice. Vividly, Bai Li Guang realized that most likely this matter was not as simple as it seemed. Bai Li Jian said, "When he left something behind. Please take a look." "HM? What is it? Take it out," Bai Li Guang said emotionally. Bai Li Jian took a step forward and opened his hand. A strangely shaped talisman appeared in his hand. "First Patriarch, please take a look." Bai Li Guang did not mind as he took a step forward and took it. The instant Bai Li Guang's palm made contact with it, a trace of a smile spilled from the corner of Bai Li Jian's mouth. He flipped his palm, and instantly, that talisman transformed into tens and thousands of golden lights. Like the hair of an ox, flower needles, and drizzling rain, it shot towards Bai Li Guang at an extremely fast speed. "Needle seal hidden in silk floss," Qin Wushuang shouted in a low voice. He flipped his hand, and the golden lights were activated continuously. At such a close distance, countless golden lights did not allow Bai Li Guang to react at all. They shot directly towards Bai Li Guang's vital parts. Bai Li Guang was shocked. Under these golden lights, Qin Wushuang's next step, the divine venomous poison, was already covered in the golden lights and shot towards Bai Li Guang's glabella. Bai Li Guang could dodge the first attack, but how could he dodge the second? This divine venomous poison was extremely overbearing. Once it shot into Bai Li Guang's glabella, it turned into an ice line and directly entered Bai Li Guang's dantian, directly imprisoning his divine soul. Bai Li Guang was shocked. He protected his vital parts, but found that the corrosive power of this ice line was not something he could resist at all. The divine venomous poison directly wrapped around his divine soul. His whole body could not help but tremble violently. Seeing this, Bai Li Tu did not react in time. He shouted, "Bai Li Jian, how dare you?" Bai Li Jian laughed loudly. "You also have a share." Bai Li Tu suddenly realized that something was wrong. He turned into a ray of light and fled towards the void. Qin Wushuang laughed loudly. "Bai Li Tu, you can't escape." A figure came out from the void. A claw directly tore through the void and grabbed towards Bai Li Tu's face. This claw was not flashy, but its power was enough to shatter the void. Bai Li Tu let out an "Aya" and hurriedly dodged. Behind him, a huge mountain condensed from golden light came crashing down. Qin Wushuang's figure shot directly in front of Bai Li Tu. The divine venomous poison followed and shot into Bai Li Tu's glabella. After dealing with Bai Li Guang, the second patriarch Bai Li Tu's cultivation was obviously much lower than Bai Li Guang's. He could not resist Qin Wushuang's powerful attack at all. Under AI Simo's attack, Bai Li Tu did not even have the chance to escape. He was directly hit by the divine venomous poison. Qin Wushuang roared with laughter and said to AI Simo, "Mo air, beautifully done. It's a success." Even Supreme Tao elite warriors could not resist at all before the divine venomous poison. Although they could resist for a longer time, they could not resist the power of this divine venomous poison. After 2 hours, Bai Li Guang and Bai Li Tu arrived before Qin Wushuang like tame sheep. "Master, very good. What does the Bai Li clan plan to do with the Heavenly Emperor's camp?" "The Bai Li clan will withdraw from the Heavenly Emperor's camp. We will break all ties with the Xian clan," Bai Li Guang said obediently. Qin Wushuang smiled lightly. "This is not enough. The mysterious Reform Gate and the Thousand Feather Sect are still indecisive. You guys will be responsible for persuading these two sections. Show up and persuade them to withdraw. As for how to persuade them, you should know, right? With Master's power, it's as easy as turning your hand to intimidate the Thousand Feather Sect and the mysterious Reform Gate. We only need to analyze Master's divine power, and they will know what to choose. That's right. Tell them that if they get involved with the Xian clan again, next time, it will be the time for their two sects to be annihilated. There will not be any more luck or accidents. Even the Xian clan will not be able to save them. Master, are you planning to declare war with the Xian clan? Bai Li Guang and Bai Li Tu were shaken. The day we annihilate the Xian clan will be the day you regain your freedom. The time is ripe to annihilate the Xian clan. You only need to do your job well. If you know what's good for you, there will be a place for you in the Heavenly Emperor 8 gates. If you don't know what's good for you, on the day we annihilate the Xian clan, one or two of your sects will not make a difference. Of course, we will pledge our lives to follow the Qin clan. We will never go back on our words. Qin Wushuang gave a cold snort. Now that he controlled them with the divine venomous poison, of course they would not go back on their words. If they were to regain their freedom, such tests and guarantees were not trustworthy at all. Of course, Qin Wushuang also knew that using the divine venomous poison to deal with the 100 Lane clan was an expedient measure. To stabilize the situation at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, it would be difficult to use the divine venomous poison to control the other sects for a long time. The Totem Xinyuan clan would not agree. At this moment, Bao Bao and Qin Taichung's side sent back news of victory. Junior brother Wushuang, we've already succeeded. Under the attack of the divine beast Fire Kylin, the entire 1,000 Feather sect did not have any power to resist. The entire 1,000 Feather sect has turned upside down and is in a complete mess. We captured a few core disciples and elders to threaten them. Boss, I'm sorry. I accidentally killed a few people. Haha. However, we have taken care of the mysterious Reform Gate. I believe that in the next few hundred years, when they hear your name, they will be scared to the point of having nightmares. With Bao Bao and the Purple Flame Electric Beast methods, once they made a move, it was impossible for them not to kill. Qin Wushuang was somewhat prepared. All right, don't make any more moves. Follow the original plan and gather at the agreed place. Qin Wushuang instructed. This first wave of attacks had ended perfectly and even surpassed their expectations. Qin Wushuang firmly believed that the Heavenly Emperor Party would surely welcome a storm. It was time for the Heavenly Emperor Party to collapse. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.